So very good morning. Welcome to Les Sables d'Olonne on the west coast of France. We're waiting for the start of the 10th edition of the Vendée Globe, the Everest of the seas, the toughest solo sporting challenge in the world. It's a simple concept: one skipper, one boat, non-stop around the world with no assistance. I'm joined this morning by Ferré, the world breaking yachtswoman, 6 times round the world, 6th place in the 2008-2009 Vendée Globe, 33 starters, 11 finishers, and Dee, what a morning it is, what a beautiful morning, electric atmosphere.
Unbelievable. I was walking against an absolute flow of people that were positioning themselves to get these front row seats.
Le parcours du Vendée Globe est inchangé depuis 1989, avec un départ et une arrivée aux Sables d'Olonne, sans autre escale possible sur la route. Innovation voulue par l'organisateur, 2 zones de protection de la biodiversité autour des Açores et du Cap-Vert ont été créées car ce sont des zones identifiées par les scientifiques comme des zones de reproduction et de migration des grands cétacés et d'autres mammifères marins. 45 000 km avec un passage par les 3 caps. Bonne-Espérance en Afrique du Sud, le Win en Australie et le Horn à la pointe de l'Amérique du Sud. Les concurrents font le tour du pôle Sud et de l'Antarctique avec une zone interdite pour éloigner les concurrents des risques de collision avec des icebergs décrochés de la banquise. Le meilleur temps sur ce parcours du Vendée Globe reste celui d'Armel Lecléache en 2016 en 74 jours et 3 heures.
So it's a super simple concept, D. It's just one person, one boat around the world non-stop without assistance. A super simple course.
Yeah, it is, and I think that's the appeal. It's just that simplicity that lets people understand, so it becomes the human story. We've got 40 skippers taking part this year, and we can see how busy the dock is.
Oui, ça y est, la fête va commencer. Les larmes aussi risquent de commencer puisque nous allons accompagner ces dernières minutes le départ de ces femmes et de ces hommes ordinaires qui s'en vont faire l'extraordinaire pour la merveille du public, j'ai envie de dire. Nous allons rêver avec eux, nous allons avoir peur aussi avec eux. Et c'est un beau jour, une grande journée, notamment cette sortie du chenal.
Oui, c'est la conclusion de 3 semaines de village et c'est seulement le début de l'aventure.
Oui, effectivement, 3 semaines de village qui ont été extraordinaires, des milliers de visiteurs qui sont venus ici s'émerveiller devant ces très beaux bateaux, devant des skippers qui ont joué le jeu, qui ont accepté ces interviews, qui ont accepté aussi ces autographes, qui ont accepté ces photos aussi avec les enfants. Ce sont des moments merveilleux, tout le monde attendait cet instant-là pour venir cueillir ces petites photos, j'ai envie de dire, de merveilleux souvenirs. Et là maintenant, après 3 semaines, oui, c'est ce ton du chenal. Je voyais en arrivant ces milliers de touristes, de visiteurs qui sont en train de déambuler dans la ville des Sables d'Olonne pour rejoindre le chenal. On va avoir une fête tout à l'heure qui va être merveilleuse, de l'adrénaline dans le sang de chacun de nos skippers. Merci beaucoup.
Well, I think we can see with the flood of people and the crowds that we're going to see along the channel as the boats go out, just that impact it's had. I mean, the French absolutely love their sailing, but it attracts people from all over the world and the whole of France to this region. A pretty small region, it's a fishing town in the west coast here, but it has this history of such a special race that people really get behind. And everybody is actually celebrating not only what these boats are about to do, but the fact that these skippers and these boats have actually got to the start line. That's probably the first challenge of many they're going to face. And it's, you know, the first success that they've had.
Now this is the first scene we've seen of the crowds out on La Chaume. As you said, Dee, it was behind closed doors 4 years ago. So it's a massive celebration this morning. We came into work at 4:30, 5 o'clock, and the crowds were already 3 or 4 deep. And you really have to find your position there on the dock, or sorry, on the channel, on both sides of the channel, all the way out. It's a fabulous atmosphere this morning. And it's this, I say, this is all about the Vendée region, which is it's farming, fishing, and also boat building. But quick look at or an introduction to the Vendée region.
Je sens le vent me pousser.
Oui.
La terre me parlait. L'océan m'appelait. Je me sens pleine d'énergie. Je me sens mature, authentique. Je me sens innovante. Je me sens historique. Je me sens ancrée. Je me sens compétitive. Je me sens aventurière. Je me sens glorieuse.
So that is the Vendée region, their hosts for this epic, iconic race. D, home of one of the biggest boat builders in the world, of course, the Vendée.
That's right, and we have a number of teams that are considered local teams here as well, so they're going to be firm favourites, but actually the crowds are full of people supporting all 40 teams, all 40 skippers, and they've come from far and wide to descend on here. And as we said earlier, 4 o'clock in the morning, you were 3 deep from the front line, so people really did start camping out. Luckily, it's been dry conditions. It's been quite mild. We've got a little bit of mist around, but they're set for no scary weather to start, so everybody knows they're going to have a great day today. Still kind of dark. We've got all the lights there on the ribs. These are the safety ribs going out to marshal the area for the boat starting. And we can just start to see some of the emotion etched in faces of people on the dock, their final goodbyes. It's actually harder for the teams left behind, I think. I think the skipper's head is in the game, but actually it's the teams that are saying goodbye, all their hard work, the family and friends and loved ones that didn't have this opportunity last time.
That's right. So we have 40 skippers. They're going off the dock every 3 minutes. It's a logistical exercise for our organisation, an emotional challenge for the skippers and their teams. And Charlie Dalin then first to come down the pontoon. Ferré first into the finish in the last edition and first onto the pontoon. How do we choose the dock out procedure?
So the positioning of the boats on the dock is all out of a hat, and there's some shuffling because some boats have got different dimensions and fitting them on the dock and the pontoon. So it's always interesting to see that lineup, and then we literally on departure go one either side, alternate all the way, so that it's really easy and smooth docking off. Charlie Dalin here, he actually finished in first place in the last edition, crossing the line in first place, but on the redress for the rescue of Kevin Escoffier, there was some changes and it was Bestaven that won. But he's a firm race favourite. He's got a brand new machine at the end of the dock there, Massif, that you could see, and he's our first skipper to leave the dock.
But isn't that just one of the little ironies, the coincidences that are peppered all the way through the Vendée Globe, that the race favourite for many people is coming onto the dock first this morning? And the Vendée Globe is very much unfinished business for Charlie Dalin. He finished first last time. He was so sporting, so humble in exceeding the first place to Bestaven, but he's certainly one of the fan favourites here, Dee.
Absolutely. 40 years old, his second Vendée Globe. As we said, he didn't have this emotional charge of having people around to wave them out. So this is going to be a real different feel for him as he leaves the channel. Something he hasn't done before, but he has not been off the podium with this new boat since it was built. He's rarely off the podium with any of his sailing. His attention to detail is meticulous, and he's got an air of confidence. For someone on his second participation, he knows what he's going into. He's pretty confident, I think.
Indeed, what a moment for Charlie Dalin. And will we see him coming back first? That's one question that we'll be asking as of this point. We can claim him almost a little bit English. He studied at Southampton University, did a lot of his early sailing on the Solent. well known, well liked in England. Comes from Le Havre, and say he's a naval architect, and so he's a significant input into the design of his own boat. And he said he is so much a different person to when he was here 4 years ago. 4 years ago, he was only coming into his second solo Mocha race ever. And he said that he was still at that point learning some of the maneuvers, learning some of the sail changes, and he led for 37 days on the last race.
He had a formidable race, and I think we remember last time he had big foil issues that he literally did some boat building and engineering of his own with his team in support, but literally sat on the side of his boat trying to make that happen to enable him to finish. And not only did he finish, but he finished at the front of the fleet. Interesting as well as an advancement from his last boat. This boat, he knows about the performance, he's confident with that, but actually it's about the ergonomics and how to allow the skipper to perform for that period of time. That safety, that comfort, because these boats are a harsh environment to be in for this amount of time. And the intensity is quite, and he's really worked hard at making sure that environment is right for him to be the best performance.
One of the things about the environment, I mean, his boat is, or his cockpit is entirely enclosed, his living space is entirely enclosed. He has suffered a head injury during the ocean race, and one of the things with the ergonomics of his boat is he's reduced the living space so that there's less space to fall into.
That's right. When it's such an open space, with the sudden deceleration and acceleration of these boats, it's really easy to be caught off guard. And the bigger space, the further there is to fall. He joined 11th Hour Racing on the ocean race, who were the winners of the ocean race. And it was really good for him, while his boat was in build, to be on these other boats, looking at different things that are done on other boats and then implementing what he wanted on his boat. But he works with his designers. His boat is a Vendée design, and he works with them, built at CDK Technologies, in making sure those attention to details work for him.
And his boat, or the project, is managed by Mer Concept, the company owned by the past winner of the Vendée Globe, and they all work together with Mer Concept and Guillaume Verdi and Guillaume Verdi's team. And here comes Yannick Bestaven, then the tenant of the title, as they say in France, the winner last time, and again, coincidence, second.
It's ironic that these two,
down the dock and the winner,
yeah, first and second, the other way around for the podium. So he gave that trophy a kiss, and obviously he knows what it's like to lift that trophy. He did it last time.
So there's Charlie with Patricia Brochard and Alain Leboeuf. Patricia Brochard is the from Stodebo, long time sponsors, our main sponsor of the Vendée Globe, and here comes Yannick Bestaven. Again, one of the firm favourites for the crowd, comes originally from Saint-Nazaire on the west coast of France, but grew up in Arcachon in the southwest of France.
This is his third Vendée Globe, and we obviously know how well he did. Age 51 now, but third Vendée Globe. His first Vendée Globe was back in 2008, and he dismasted in the Bay of Biscay, so his race came to an abrupt end. But a lot of these boats have hydro generators on the back of the boat, and he's actually an engineer that was part of the design for that.
Non, super, vraiment, je suis tellement heureux d'être là, tellement heureux de prendre ce deuxième départ de Vendée Globe pour moi.
So he's very happy to be taking the second start of the Vendée Globe.
Descendre de chenal digne de ce
Looking
nom,
forward to going down the channel with the full crowd this time.
Là, le public s'amasse depuis 3 heures du matin, si j'ai bien compris.
The public have been there since 3 in the morning.
De prendre plein d'énergie sur cette.
Not sure whether Charlie was sleeping at 3 in the
Profite
morning.
bien, merci beaucoup.
It's a tough night, D, isn't it, trying to sleep? Anyway, there's Yannick Bestaven with Alain Gauthier there. Of course, stating the obvious, but they have the longest walk day.
That's right. It is a long dock with 40 boats, that's for sure. And they, you know, it's a family. It's a very unique experience to be part of the Vendée Globe. All the teams know each other, so they're actually saying goodbye to all their friends that they've got in the other teams, and everyone wishing each other well. That you know, all Besta buddies, fierce competitors on the water, but Besta buddies, and they know that they're their closest point of rescue if anything happens on this race, as we've seen in previous editions.
So Yannick is a new boat for this race. He has suffered a shoulder injury, actually, which hampered his early preparations, and he's one or two technical problems with the boat and his build-up. I really think he's just peaking at the right time, Dee.
Yeah, we haven't seen that much from him with this new boat since it's been built, but we know that when it comes to it, he can pull it together. He's having his chat with Alain Leboeuf there. It's really lovely that he personally wishes each and every skipper fair play.
I hear somebody you know very well, Sam Davies, English skipper. A skipper who stands a very good chance of becoming first woman to win the Vendée Globe.
There's Tanguy de la Motte just chatting there, that formerly had initiative car.
Particulière, différente. Là, ce matin, en voiture, ça va être quelque chose de magnifique. Par rapport à il y a 4 ans, où il n'y avait personne, ça va changer.
Yeah, again, Yannick Bestaven saying that 4 years ago there was nobody here. Really,
c'est parti.
And so really looking forward to the start and loving the atmosphere. Yes, indeed, Sam Davies then. One of the favourites, Dee.
Yeah, I mean, Sam is just coming to peak at the right time with her new boat. This is her 4th participation. She knows this walk, she knows this routine really well. Her 4th Vendée Globe, but as she said, she'd never to date had a boat built for her for a purpose. She'd always had someone else's boat that she'd adapted. So this is the first time she's had a boat built for her, and she's just spent the last few years getting that right and peaking at the right time. She's super happy, super confident, really happy with her boat, and really relaxed. She's in a really good space this time.
Just had her first podium in the modern IMOCA class, suggesting that she's absolutely on form. She's loving it. And obviously, as you said, just that flashing image of Tanguy de la Motte, who was the original skipper of Initiative Kerr, who passed over the helm to Sam. Her preparation has been absolutely immaculate, physically, mentally, and indeed the boat, the whole programme.
A really popular skipper as well, because she speaks both French and English. You know, everyone claims her as their own. She is British, but she does live in France, speaks fluently. So she's really popular with all the teams because she's, you know, can cover both bases and helps a lot of people out.
So she's another skipper who did a lot of miles in the ocean race, which she says really contributes, or has contributed to her ability to push the boat super hard in the south. So she's, I think we'll find her fairly confident, but she's also suffered disappointment in this race. Monsieur le Président, Alain Leboeuf.
Chose. Merci. Et merci pour tout ce que tu as offert au public depuis 3 semaines.
So just Alain Leboeuf thanking Sam Davies for all that she's done over the course of the three weeks, and in particular Sam has made herself available over the whole, and she's said it's such an important part of her race to enjoy it with the public and with Patricia Brochard.
Merci pour les petits cadeaux. T'as eu les cartes? Ils sont tous sur le bateau. Bon, résidente de la région, tout cœur avec vous.
Sam just hinting there at the number of presents you get, and she said she's got a number of those presents on the boat stored away.
So there we go, Eric Bellion now. There's always this superstition coming down the dock. Do you touch the trophy?
Or is it an omen that you won't get your hands on it again?
Exactly, Eric Bellion, such a lovely, lovely skipper.
He's just shaking hands there with Alex Thompson in the background. This is his second edition of the Vendée Globe, Eric. He came in and he was the first rookie in the year he did it.
Je crois que vous parlez de plaisir ce matin, notamment il va y avoir beaucoup avec cette remontée du chénal qui va être incroyable.
Déjà la montée du chénal va être incroyable et puis
She just said that she's just saying she's been up and down there, she's been up the channel a few times.
C'est quoi l'émotion? Il y a tout ce qui se mélange ou c'est vraiment que du bonheur?
Non, oui, c'est du bonheur, forcément. C'est un peu stressant aussi quand on part.
On
ne fait pas ça tous les jours. Donc, il y a tout un mélange des émotions. Pour moi, c'est l'objectif, c'est de profiter de la journée aujourd'hui.
The main thing is to profit from the day, to enjoy the day. It's totally
garder
unique.
l'énergie, en fait, qui envoie tout le monde ici dans le chenal pour les moments difficiles dans les jours à venir.
So it's all about enjoying the moment, going up the channel and using it to profit, as she said, or to offset against the big emotions that are going to be coming in terms of the sporting challenge. Yannick Bestaven then. So there we go, Eric Bellion there with Rich Wilson, the 2 times Vendée skipper, the oldest skipper so far to complete the race. So Eric Bellion is a brand new boat for this race. Sister ship to the boat which Jean Le Cam has. His new dagger boats, Dean.
Yeah, now they made the concerted decision to go daggerboard and not foiling. They decided that if the boat is more simple, they can push harder for longer. And we saw with Jean Le Cam in the last edition that he proved that absolutely right, coming in 4th place.
Sure, we'll have time to talk more about these U-boats. Nico Lundven, another sailor you know extremely well, good friend of yours, Dee, and his first Vendée Globe, 2 times winner of Le Solitaire de Figaro, cerebral, super intelligent sailor.
He has his attention to detail is impressive. Known as a navigator, a weather specialist, he positions really well. He's got lots of experience with a few ocean races now as well. So although this is his first Vendée Globe, it's not his first time around the world.
So Charlie Dalin then just waiting to dock off with Hubert Lemonnier, who's our new race director. Yannick Bestaven getting another kiss, and Eric Bellion then. Eric Bellion, a real disciple for inclusion. Sailed around the world on a boat of about 35 feet before with a mixed crew, with taking disabled sailors around the world. And here comes Nico Lundven. So Nico, a relatively late addition to the fleet in some senses, Dee.
Yeah, so he's on Holcim PRB. Now PRB have a huge history as a local
manufacturer. Il y a déjà beaucoup d'émotions sur
area.
ce ponton et il reste le chenal à vivre encore.
Eric, then.
Raconte-nous cette émotion.
J'étais en larmes là, donc écoute, il y a 8 ans, je partais sans savoir où j'allais, j'avais pas de famille, j'étais la fleur au fusil.
So I think it was here 8 years ago, and it was a very different emotions. He had no family at the time.
Famille, je sais exactement ce que je vais faire, ce qui va se passer. Enfin, je sais pas tout ce qui va se passer, mais je sais que ça va être compliqué. Et en même temps, je suis hyper heureux d'y aller.
He promised when he finished the last race that he wouldn't come back again.
Pendant 4 ans.
And then realized that
donc
so many things that he didn't achieve.
Hyper mélangées. Et c'est pour ça que ces aventures-là, on y va.
Didn't feel like he had sailed a complete race, so he's back again. There you go.
Ouais, merci. Merci beaucoup. Merci.
So you were saying the wholesome PRB have the boat in every race. Won the race with Vincent Ruyant and with Michel Degeux in successive races, 2000, 2004.
Ton émotion là sur ce ponton, ça y est, on y est?
Ah bah oui, ça y est, on y est. Bah, écoute, je suis très content d'être là, c'est un rêve qui se réalise, donc c'est super, je pars dans de super conditions. La météo est bonne pour le départ et c'est le premier jour, donc voilà, on peut pas rêver mieux.
Profite bien.
Merci.
Preparations couldn't have gone better.
Super relaxed, and yesterday I saw his team and they were literally scrubbing the decks. That was the only job they had left to do. So he's been Anglophile, making his boat as clean and shiny as possible. a local hero, Arnaud Boissières, known to everybody as Callie. He has been a local team. He's done more, like, I think this is his fifth.
This is fifth.
Yeah,
I mean,
fifth
Lacam is doing 6, but as you say, he's a local hero. He came from the Arcachon region. Same, in fact, he's a counterpart of Yannick Bestaven. They both did the mini transat. Bestaven won it, and their kind of career paths have converged at times and diverged at other times. But he was super happy when Yannick won. But he lives here, lives in La Chaume, and was one of your main rivals in your race, Dee.
He was. We were almost stuck together. Brian Thompson, myself and Callie, we were like the three amigos going around the Southern Ocean and Cape Horn. And it's interesting, though, 5 editions, but he's the only skipper to have actually finished every single one.
Of course, because Jean Le Cam capsized in 2008, 2009, close to Cape Horn.
So, yeah, it's a huge achievement, one, to get to the start line, but to actually finish every race is quite special. And
it's funny, isn't it? Because he you know, 5th race, and he looks super nervous, doesn't he? I mean, he's... it's a walk you never get used to.
I think even if you're in the right headspace at the start of the dock, by the time you walk past everybody wishing you well, you realise what you're taking on, and it's like, actually, this is massive. He looks quite emotional, doesn't he?
Yeah. I don't know if it's still the case, but it certainly used to be the case that you used to go out the dock and be able to see your house. And I think he was the only skipper that was the case with. He comes from La Chaume, which is the kind of the villagey area on the right-hand side of the channel going out. You can almost say that the left side going out the main beach is the posh side, and La Chaume is... There's a great pride in living in La Chaume, and that right side of the channel. And Calais, Arnaud Boissières has a new boat to him this season for this Vendée Globe. Special farewell from the president of Vendée, first Vendée skipper down the pontoon. He has a few children, that's all we're going to say. But yeah, big family day for the extended Boissières family. This is Charlie Dalin with his young son. Now then, Pip here. Big moment for her as well, because she really missed family and friends on the last race. It was all behind closed doors, and so...
Callie.
She's been talking about her nerves for a few days. Quick few words with Callie then, with Arnaud Boissières, sponsored by La Micheline, which is a French bakery chain.
On habite à côté, on a des messages depuis un mois, dans le boîte aux lettres, des dessins et tout ça, des enfants.
Just great to be here with all the kids and the family.
Au niveau émotionnel, c'est très fort. C'est ça qui fait aussi la course. C'est le public est là.
Public
are here. Il y a toute une scénarisation originale qui est juste géniale.
Great to see all the public on the channel.
Une 5e fois cette sortie de chenal. On m'avait dit.
Fifth time he's going out.
En 2008, profite de la sortie de chenal parce que tu la vivras peut-être une fois dans ta vie. Et là, j'ai du mal à croire que je vais faire le départ pour une 5e fois.
Taking the start for the 5th time.
Profite bien, regarde, il y a ta maman qui est là.
And it clearly doesn't get any easier. You can see that emotion on his face there. Every skipper handles this part differently, saying goodbye to family and friends. Some have done it a week before, and
that's Callie's mum.
Some do it on the dock, and everybody handles it differently. It's interesting how the skippers choose to detach themselves from the emotions on this difficult day. They've got enough going on in their head.
So Charlie Dalin then on board Massive Santé and Prévoyance. Pip then, she's made a real point of having as many family and friends over from England over certainly the last week. So
today.
She has the smile.
It's the smile of the sea. C'est le sourire de la mer.
Les 3 semaines sont bien passées.
How were the 3 weeks? Incredible. The atmosphere is amazing. The welcome is brilliant, and the fact that all these people care so much about this race, it makes me feel good. It's a good depart.
Donc l'atmosphère est exceptionnelle, l'ambiance aussi, le fait qu'il y ait autant de gens qui soient là pour partager ça me fait sentir vraiment bien.
Et puis il va y avoir maintenant le channel. Ça va être extraordinaire. Les gens vont crier.
Everybody's going to be cheering in the channel, supporting you.
I know. I can't imagine.
Je peux pas imaginer.
Vous êtes des skippers qui montrent un exemple extraordinaire.
You show an example incredible to the public.
Votre générosité.
Your generosity gives us hope.
Thank you.
And your modesty also.
On va vous souhaiter bonne mer.
Have a good time at sea, fair winds.
I will.
Yes, enjoy it, enjoy every moment.
Et on vous attend au retour pour...
We'll be here for your finish, and we'll follow you and send us
So Charlie Dalin just heading out there. Final goodbyes with Arnaud Boissières. And a few words with Pip here coming up. Meantime, Shabolics Weores, the Hungarian skipper, one of the rookies in this race. And his passage to the start line has been incredible, considering that when he started out, he hardly ever sailed on an IMOCA. Anyway, this is Charlie's moment, first heading out from the marina here in Portolona. So there's Shabby. 6 times Ironman. 6 times Ironman is Shabby.
I just feel like I'm going to burst. It's amazing. I mean, it feels like everybody feels like I do. Everyone has the same sense of excitement and love for the sport, and they all want me to do well, and that's what I want. And yeah, it is just the most incredible experience.
Have a really good time. Thank you.
It's really important for Pip there, because the biggest thing that she felt she missed out on was that COVID edition where there wasn't the public, and people are so important to her. She loves sharing her story, and she was, as you say, really upset that her family couldn't share that opportunity of her first Vendée Globe. So the fact that everybody's here and they get to do this, I think Pip will find the channel really emotional, because I don't think she's aware of what's about to hit her when all that volume of people get excited.
So a difficult moment for Yannick Bestaven's family, but here comes Maxime Sorel, another super popular skipper. We talk about the Everest de la Mer, the Everest of the Seas. Well, Max is the first skipper to complete the Everest of the Seas and climb Everest.
Yeah, really impressive. And to him, to do that double was really important. Brand new boat for him. We haven't seen much of a performance from him yet, but he surprised everybody in the last edition of the Vendée Globe with a really good performance. So that tenacity and mental resilience to climb Everest as well kind of shows you where he is to take on something like this challenge, and explains how he can perform for something as long as this.
He's a super competitive boat, sister ship to the old Pivia, which was Charlie Dalin's old boat, currently L'Occitan in Provence. Pip saying goodbye to her brother and sister, I think. Pip's mum and dad here have had a great week.
Shabby, just one word. Your feeling now.
Amazing.
So here's Shabby.
It's okay. I feel amazing. I'm really ready to go. I prepared. That's the big day in my life, I think. So I want to enjoy it. So thank you.
So he wants to enjoy. He used to be a rigger with the Team Xocholoza back in the days of the America's Cup in Valencia. Grew up on sailing on the Lake Balaton and Optimists, 420s, cadets, different small boats. Has sailed around the world before, crewed, I think. But was a complete newcomer to solo ocean racing. As Yannick Bestaven heads out on the Maitre Coq. Household name in France, and Yannick Bestaven has done a good job at promoting the company. The boat is based in La Rochelle. Here comes Charlie Dalin. First out into the Channel D.
Yeah, and I think, you know, in his mind, he wants to be first out, first in. He's on a mission. He's in it to win it. So as we said with Sam, her last transatlantic race, she was on the podium, third place. Seems to be peaking at the right time. Finally for her, she's got a boat that's built and designed for her, so she feels she can compete on a level playing field with the other top runners. I think she's really coming into her own. Back in 2008, she finished fourth, just outside the podium, so she thought she could do it. She's had disappointment with the dismasting, and then in the last edition, she hit an unidentified object and had to go into Cape Town for repairs, but did complete the race out of class. And then she spent some time with Boissières sailing in the Southern Ocean in the ocean race, so she's stayed in that environment. So I think she's in a good place.
Parce que j'avais envie encore de dormir, mais toute cette ferveur, les gens qui chantent dans la rue, les 4 heures du mat, tu dis, oh, c'est fou, maintenant faut y aller.
Very much sleep last night. There was people at 4 o'clock in the morning coming in and making a noise.
On va aller vivre ce chenal maintenant.
Benjamin Ferré then, another rookie, an adventurer who came to ocean racing and the Vendée Globe through the influence of Jean Le Cam. One of a few in this race, in fact, who have come through the influence or advice of Jean Le Cam.
I think that's really lovely, actually. He mentors a lot of sailors.
So there's always these iconic messages out on the channel that we remember edition after edition. So Benjamin Ferré, as I say, a newcomer with a super competitive daggerboard boat. Possibly one of the potential podium finishers for the race, within the race for the daggerboard fleet.
That's a great shot to give you an insight as to how many people, and literally they fill every space and gap there is possible. The channel never felt so long for Charlie waving at all these people, I think.
I don't think he's complaining, but...
This is the bit they didn't have last time. They kind of went out and we watched it on screens, but they didn't have this shouting and cheering and the volume. And it's quite overwhelming, that volume. It's amazing how much noise people can make.
He looks pretty happy, pretty content, pretty confident, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's enjoying every
He's
moment.
a little bit of a showman, this Benjamin Ferré. He was an adventurer before he came into ocean racing, did the mini transat. Originally, I think, from Paris. And he really felt some resistance when he first joined the ocean racing scene. But he's very much proven himself in the preliminary races.
Merci beaucoup. Ouais, et merci à tous pour leur gars, c'est génial.
Allez, bonne nuit.
Un petit mot. vous n'êtes pas tout seul, vous n'êtes pas tout seul. Quelle émotion, bah les mecs on a déjà vécu un peu ça, vous en plus c'est trop bien.
Ouais, c'est ça.
Bah, he's planned that, hasn't he? Yeah. That's not spontaneous, but he's another
he measured
newcomer.
That to make sure he could reach.
Exactly. He's been practicing all night. And he is Girek Sure. Another adventure. He's going to be a great competitor.
Un petit mot,
Benjamin Ferré.
Ouais, vous n'êtes pas tout seul, vous n'êtes pas tout seul. Quelle émotion, bah les mecs on a déjà vécu un peu ça, vous en plus c'est trop bien.
Ouais, c'est ça, j'oscille un peu depuis ce matin, là c'est les montagnes russes. Et voilà, c'est les émotions qui disent aussi sur les visages des autres.
Just seeing how emotional it is.
Et à la fois, je me sens super prêt, quoi, hyper serein par rapport à ça. J'ai envie de prendre tout ce qu'il y a à prendre. Et je trouve ça génial de cette capacité à réunir, quoi. Je vois tous mes amis réunis, ma famille, les gens.
Great to have everybody together, all joined up.
Il y a des bisous à faire encore, il y a des câlins, je crois.
Il y a encore des câlins à faire.
Profitez bien.
Look at the crowds. I mean, that's incredible. And a beautiful morning, just not much windy.
No, super light. I mean, that's why the skippers are so relaxed. Quite often we have this race and we're heading out into a storm in the Bay of Biscay at this time of year. But the weather's, you know, we're seeing huge changes in our weather. We've had dry weather for 3 weeks in the Dalin. It's been warm. People have been in shorts, in the sea. And again, we've got a forecast of pretty light conditions. So there's nothing scary ahead of them for the first initial night at sea. So they're happy, they're relaxed.
Et c'est Boris Herrmann, le skipper allemand sur Malaisie, Sea Explorer, qui rejoint le Duclair pour son deuxième Vendée Globe. Depuis 2020, il est toujours dans le top 5. En 2020, il était le premier allemand à participer. C'est Boris Herrmann, le skipper allemand sur Malaisie, 5e place. Ceinture bleue sur différents cours. Boris Herrmann.
Sam making sure she gets the socials ready for posting.
So we can see all the Initiative Cur guests, I think, on board the tall ship on the way out. As you say, she really made herself available over the course of the 3-week build-up. So this Initiative Cur program is all about helping kids with heart problems from underdeveloped nations. Here's Alex Thompson meeting Boris Herrmann. Good friends.
Oh, Lily, the dog, has just run off. Boris has got to go and get his dog.
Now that is not a very well-trained dog, is it?
Lily's really popular with the fleet, though. She's saying goodbye to the skippers too.
Exactly.
Pat on the back there from Alan Roberts, young skipper that we will see in the future, I'm sure. As we said, it's often harder for those left behind. The skippers have got their head in the game and they're thinking of other things. It's emotional, but it's those left behind that have that big kind of concern for what lays ahead.
So there with Girek Sure. Another newcomer to the Amoca fleet over this quadrennial, better known for having sailed around the world.
Chaud, mais en vrai, dans ton cœur, il y a quoi là?
Chicken,
bah non, mais il y a de la
Monique.
patience, il y a une délivrance en fait, une délivrance. Encore plus quand je vais franchir sa ligne de départ.
Just,
tellement heureux, j'ai du mal
this is the point, indeed, really, isn't it? When the preparations turn to
or, depuis que je fais de l'IMOCA, j'étais vraiment tout seul.
Racing
et c'est vrai de là de voir autant de monde, j'ai l'impression d'aller sur la planète, quoi. Mais je vais pas. J'ai l'impression d'aller dans la lune, quoi, sur la lune. Mais non, en fait, non. Je vais faire le tour du monde, c'est quand même quelque chose d'assez conséquent. Mais voilà, je suis très heureux d'être là, ouais.
Super happy to be here.
Ouais, c'est gentil,
You
merci.
can tell he's really buzzing and it's lovely. I mean, he's 32 years old. Benjamin that came down before is 33. It's their first Vendée Globe. They're young, they're hungry. They're just, you know, really excited to go and do it. I'm pleased to say there is no chicken with Girek this time. He is actually solo. Yeah, it's against the rules. And Boris will not be taking Lily with him.
Although I can almost guarantee that she'll get on the boat. So Arne Boissières, then La Micheline docking out now from his home port, the boat's home port. So the speed, they go out at 3 knots.
Every 3 minutes at 3 knots.
At 3 knots. Everybody should get the same length of time in the channel. Of course, in France, it's all about égalité, fraternité, et liberté. It's all about equality. Everybody gets the same time. Here comes Roman Attanasio. Roman, of course, his build-up has been, again, there you go, doesn't look at the trophy, doesn't touch the trophy, super superstitious. But his build-up has been really hampered. He lost his mast in the last Mocha race that he completed. They had to have a real challenge to find a replacement mast and step it in time. And so we're going to go... so anyway, he's achieved that. Had a
Just 1 word.
Quick word from Boris.
Very good, very good, very good. Keen to say goodbye and spend a bit of time. How much time do I have?
So Boris, one of the favourites, could very well have won the previous race. Coming in near the front of the fleet and then just hit a fishing boat in the final night. But he's had 2 second places in the preliminary transatlantics this year.
He's actually the IMOCA skipper with the most number of miles in this build-up to this edition of the Vendée Globe. So he's really confident with his boat. He's pushed it hard with other people around him, and he's really tended to find his feet with his solo racing, getting podium finishes. So, you know, on paper, theoretically, he's a favourite, and it's just whether he can put it together. As you say, he kind of was the dark horse in the last edition, which was his first Vendée Globe, and he just slowly, confidently did it in the background and suddenly was, you know, there for the podium taking. And then literally in the last few miles, he had the collision with the fishing boat and he finished in 5th place. And, you know, I think that was, you know, big shock of that whole kind of coming in. They were all coming in at once together.
So Roman Attanasio, another skipper with quite a bit of Vendée Globe experience. Should be a kind of mid-fleet contender, but it's a pretty competitive boat now.
So his boat is actually the former Militia, so the one that, you know, we were just talking about finishing in 5th place in the last Vendée Globe. This is Roman's 3rd Vendée Globe, so he's had a 15th place, a 14th place, so he's searching for the top 10. Yeah, that's what he's searching for.
But he tends to be overlooked a little bit, but he is a super competitive sailor.
Yeah, he's definitely done his time in the Figaro class, getting that induction right. And sometimes it's good to be overlooked. You can just do it in the background.
That's right. I mean, he had a lot of technical problems in his last race, so that was a great shot of this these new daggerbore boats designed by David Raison, sister ship. So Eric Bellion has one and Jean Le Cam has one. These are the newest boats in the fleet.
Yeah, new boats, did some miles, but we haven't really seen them race. We haven't really seen what's possible. No, they haven't raced in the fleet. They've kind of just done the mileage.
Well, they had both had structural problems at different stages. Eric Bellion's boat had to go back in for some major reinforcements, and here comes Sébastien Marcet. Won't touch the trophy, another superstitious guy. Somebody you know quite well as well, Dee.
Yeah, he's got a lot of miles. It's his first Vendée Globe. He's got a lot of miles under his belt with ocean races and big old teams. He's the guy that most people have in their team. He's a really good team player, but now he's out there doing it himself. I spoke to him yesterday. He was super relaxed, really ready, really happy. So, you know, I hope he has a good race, a good experience.
But one of the smallest budgets in the fleet.
Yeah,
really
definitely.
Struggling. He's really struggling for money in the latter part of the campaign, but he's here and getting on the start line. So Pip here then off the dock.
Romain, juste
Attanasio,
une description de ce que tu traverses là.
Oh bah, on se laisse un peu porter par le flow, hein. Là c'est un peu non maîtrisé quoi. Je dis que voilà, je reprendrai les choses en main une fois la ligne de départ passée, peut-être pas tout de suite, mais dans la demi-heure quoi.
Mais quand même, c'était déjà une victoire d'être là. Il y a un mois, on ne croyait pas.
It's a victory for him to be here.
Je me dis, il n'y a pas de Vendée Globe. Bon, ça a duré 5 minutes, après il a fallu tout de suite se mobiliser, puis j'en ai suffisamment parlé. Cette chaîne de solidarité a été incroyable, que ce soit du public, des coureurs, de tout le monde.
On profite bien.
Merci beaucoup.
Him ensure that he could be here.
So actually it was the Maxime Sorel that came to the rescue. They had a spare rig available and they did the deal. The two have actually helped each other in the past before, the other way round. So this was Maxime coming to give back. So he was super lucky to get that rig, get it stepped and be ready to set off today.
So there's Nico Lundven and there's Yannick Bestaven. This is the heart of the Portalona Marina. Great overhead shots of the boats which are still to leave, and here comes Arnaud Boissières. So Sébastien Marcel.
Juste un mot sur la sensation d'y être enfin arrivé. C'était un long combat quand même pour arriver jusque-là.
Je sais pas si tu peux me pincer pour que j'y croie vraiment y être. C'est dingue.
He said, just think it's crazy.
Merci.
It's unbelievable. He looks pretty nervous, doesn't he? He just wants to get on the boat and get going.
Yeah, I was really surprised at that emotional response from him then. He's ready to go. I think he's fine when he's sailing. It's this human part that he's surprising himself with. But he's not done stuff solo before. You know, apart from the qualifying for this. This is a massive, like, yes, he's gone around the world with teams and with Spindrift with a maxi trimaran, but this is different.
But he was saying in his pre-start interviews that his kids have grown up with the Vendée Globe. They're only little, but they've known nothing else than their dad preparing for this massive race and struggling, as I said, for funding. And this is the moment to treasure. Here comes Paul Meyer. Biotherm, another skipper D who's had a little bit of a tough build-up. Lost foils in the last transatlantic.
And has a tough history with the race as well. It's his second edition, but his first edition didn't finish well when he abandoned due to a keel ramp failure just after 50 days. So had gone a fair way into the whole process. So it's unfinished business for him. He did take part in the ocean race, so he's got some good miles. But as you say, he had foil issues, so had late fitted of new foils, which means that he hasn't really got that performance right with them. So he's going to spend a few days getting that right with his boat.
Indeed, and another skipper who's been financially to his limits. He had to invest his own money, or in fact he took a loan to purchase the new foils. He said ultimately that was a good investment for the boat. And here comes Pip here on Medallia. She said she's really going to enjoy these moments, as she missed out, as did many skippers last time, but she missed out on having a full channel experience. So Denis van Weenberg, the Belgian skipper, 57, ex-businessman.
God, looks super emotional already, I have to say. I thought he looked quite relaxed, but actually that was an emotional moment with the trophy.
It is. So he's very much an adventurer, businessman, sailing instructor, who's fulfilling his lifelong dream. His team are all volunteers, Dee.
For Denny's boat?
Yeah, indeed. He has limited funding, but his team are all volunteers and have been with him since the very beginning. So here's Paul Meyer.
Quelle émotion, on voit qu'il y a des larmes, on voit qu'il y a beaucoup d'émotions chez beaucoup de gens. Ça se passe comment chez toi?
Ah bah moi c'est un peu différent parce que j'ai quand même un tour du monde derrière. Donc j'ai quand même mis ma petite carapace ce matin quoi. Hein. Faut rester très pro parce que il va falloir sortir le bateau là, faire gaffe qu'il n'y ait pas de collision, etc. Après c'est quelque chose qui me nourrit. Là j'étais vraiment ému de voir aussi toutes les équipes en arrivant, toutes les autres équipes techniques. Bien sûr méga là, mais toute l'équipe qui sont là, mais eux, je les vois tous les jours, c'est pas pareil. Mais voilà, on sent qu'il y a quelque chose qui nous dépasse un peu aujourd'hui. Mais il ne faut pas se faire trop dépasser parce que je vais quand même, je pense, bien kiffer dans le chenal. Parce qu'on a le temps.
Merci beaucoup, il profite bien.
So Dee Pip and Pip's boat, she made a big investment changing the bow and fitting new foils.
Massively. So her boat, people will recognise as it was Louis Burton's boat that finished in 3rd place in the last edition. And she took the boat on, and then, their big refit was to change foils to bigger foils. And then she's been working really hard at learning how to sail at that intensity and that power that she wasn't used to, because she outsailed her in the last edition. She had an old boat that she completely outsailed, so now she's having to step up to this foiling environment.
So Denny van Veenberg, the Belgian skipper, formerly a businessman and indeed a journalist at one stage, sailing instructor. And he keeps his boat here, so he's quite well known in Les Sables d'Olonne.
Denis, c'est l'émotion particulière pour tout le monde. Et toi qui vis ici désormais avec ce parcours incroyable, le fait d'être là aujourd'hui, c'est quelque chose. Hein.
Ouais, c'est ce que je disais, hein, c'est une première victoire, enfin c'est une deuxième victoire, la troisième sera de passer la nuque. Voilà, c'est une
just saying that as for many skippers, the first victory is getting to the start line.
Le départ, c'est votre victoire parce que vous avez consacré beaucoup de vos congés, ils sont tous bénévoles. Ils bossent le soir, la nuit, les week-ends.
And just saying there's also a victory for Les Sables d'Olonne and for the president. So many volunteers. They do so much for this race. Have a great attitude, and also that obviously mirrors his own program with volunteers. Skilled volunteers, of course, have moved up with his program. Anyway, here comes Johan Richomme. Not a look at the trophy, Dee. Not a look at the trophy. Look at that.
That was huge, but look at the look on his face. He's so driven on purpose. I mean, this is one of the race favourites as well, with the brand new boat.
His first Vendée Globe. One of the, as Dee said, one of the real outstanding favourites. Won his first solo IMOCA race was a victory. He did two back-to-back transatlantic races, winning both of them between last year and this year. And there goes Shabby. Really such a lovely guy. Humble. Already fulfilling his dream, getting to the Vendée Globe start. Second Hungarian skipper after Nandor Faa.
And it's actually Nandor Faa's old boat that Dennis has got.
That's
so,
right.
Yeah,
there's always
links. Yeah, the IMOCA shuffle is rich.
Exactly, but there you go. There we go. The emotion comes out. You get the impression there that Johan's not got much time to talk to the president. He just wants to get going.
Yeah, his mind is definitely elsewhere right now.
I mean, a real great addition to the IMOCA fleet. He's been a long-time rival of Charlie Dalin's. They both went to university in Southampton, different universities, different courses, but fantastic to see them rivals at the front of this IMOCA fleet.
he's kind of been biding his time a little bit. He did his kind of apprenticeship in the Figaro, then he went into class 40s. He's dominated everything he's done.
Oh, completely. I mean, it's a great rivalry because Charlie, I think, has 4 podiums in the Figaro class, whereas Johan has won twice. And here comes Johan bilingual.
L'équipe Johan, bon, il se passe quoi là avant ce premier Vendée et cette première remontée du chenal? C'est un moment important.
Ouais, bah, beaucoup d'émotions. C'est un format dingue de départ, hein, c'est assez incroyable. Et écoute, ça dépend des moments, mais ça prend un peu au trip, hein, c'est sûr. Mais écoute, c'est génial et je suis hyper fier de vivre ce moment-là. On va essayer de vivre à fond et d'enchaîner sur un bon mode régate assez rapidement pour s'extirper de tout ça et puis réussir l'entame de Vendée Globe.
Merci, profite bien.
Just want to succeed on this first Vendée Globe, but Fabrice Amedeo then starting his third Vendée Globe. Had to retire from the last one into Cape Town after a succession of problems. Also had to return to Les Sables not long after the start with electrical problems. Restarted. They had a great first Vendée Globe. Former journalist,
Yeah, and actually part of the story of the Vendée Globe is how the skippers communicate their journey. And I think that's where Pip did so well, you know, as a journalist as well. She comes from a really strong communication line. Fabrice is very good at sharing his adventure with everybody, making it authentic and honest and true. More of that, I'm going to share the story rather than I'm out to win and not tell anybody anything.
I mean, there's been an evolution to Fabrice's relationship with the Vendée Globe. He did the first one, say, was pretty successful, and then came back hoping to be more competitive. And then in the last route de Rhum, his boat went on fire, he had to abandon, was rescued by a ship, and he fought on, got another boat, I think it's Mike Golding's old boat, and is back on the start line. So here's Boris Herrmann with Pierre Casaraghi from the royal family of Monaco, and very much Boris is a mentor, the reason that the Milizia team was formed and founded. So Fabrice Amedeo, here comes Eric Bellion then.
I wonder if he's going to keep that up all the way to the end of the channel. He's going to have sore arms at the end of that. The crowd will love it though.
No, it's fantastic, isn't it? But I mean, look at that boat. We're getting some, for a lot of people, this will be the first chance to see this radical David Raison design.
I have to say, walking the dock as a daggerboard boat that's brand new, the bow shaping is so different to any other boat that's on the dock. It's really, they really have put some radical design together there.
So David Raison cut his teeth in the mini class. Was one of the designers who adopted the scow shape, this rounded spooned bow, which has become prevalent in the class 40 and now in the Amoca class. So Juju, Justine Metro, first Vendée Globe, but a definite contender.
She's got experience, 2 times winner of the ocean race winner with Dongfeng, and then again most recently with 11th Hour Racing. And she's come through the Mini, she's come through the Figaro, she's done some class 40. There isn't anything she hasn't done. She's the most tenacious sailor and diligent sailor I've ever sailed with. Like literally she will push all the time. It's incredible work rate she has.
And she has the old Chiral, as it were, working in a 2-boat team with Jeremy Beau.
And she's put some really solid performances in qualifying to get to this Vendée Globe. She hasn't been out of the top 8, and so she's, you know, dicing at the front of the pack and can really kind of put a spanner in the works for some people. I've got really high hopes for her race.
Great rivalry, but great friends with Sam, isn't she?
Yes, and they've often been quite close together in the finishes, so they support each other as well as, obviously fight each other for the places.
But I'd say they're good friends. They go winging together.
Yeah, well, they sailed around the world together as well, so they know each other really well.
So Fabrice Amedeo.
Un troisième Vendée Globe, j'ai énormément de chance. Et donc je savoure. Ma femme et mes enfants ne sont pas là ce matin, on s'est dit au revoir il y a quelques jours, parce que justement c'est difficile les départs de Vendée Globe. Donc j'ai pas cette émotion de la séparation. Elle a déjà été opérée. Les larmes c'était il y a quelques jours. Donc du coup là je suis juste dans le plaisir, dans le bonheur. Il faut savourer chaque instant. Il y a le Chanel qui m'attend, ça va être incroyable.
Ils sont là.
J'embrasse tout le monde. Merci d'être venu si longtemps.
Thank you to everyone for their support.
Profitez bien.
You have to think that experience of having the battery fire and the boat literally burning to the waterline and having to abandon it is got to be scary, right?
And then be rescued by a ship. So Nico Lundgren looking cool, calm and collected as ever.
He looks like that all the time. It doesn't matter what's going on. He doesn't look any different, and he'll be immaculate all the way around the world. You'll rarely see him looking like a bit shabby.
Justine Metro.
Écoute, ça va
One of three Swiss skippers in this race.
C'est super de voir en tout cas autant de monde sur les pontons, les autres équipes qui sont à fond aussi derrière tous les marins, donc super.
Great to be welcomed by all the teams. Great solidarity between the teams just as she comes down. Very popular skipper. Oh, nearly forgot to say goodbye to Alain Leboeuf. That would be unforgivable.
Patricia would not let that happen. She would have reached out. There's 6 female skippers in this race actually, and Sam and Juju are definitely leading the competitive side, but huge sailing family that Gigi comes from. I think everyone in her family is like hugely successful at the top end of the sport in various guises, and here we've got Isabel Josh joining, another female skipper in the race. This is her second Vendée Globe, frustrated by not finishing her first Vendée Globe in class.
Walks past the trophy. Yeah, frustrated, but again, like Sam, she finished the full circumnavigation. She was super competitive last time. Just a skipper who, she had her small technical problems, but was really in the top 10 coming into Cape Horn, and then in the south of the South Atlantic, got into this huge storm which damaged her keel rams. Had to retire into Salvador.
Mentored by Alan Gauthier, who knows this race very well, so she's in good hands and has good guidance.
And is shipping 80 eggs on board.
Now there's a little bit of trivia that nobody knows.
No, it's quite well known, but yeah, she took a lot of eggs on the last race, but it was an official moment when she put on board 80 eggs. So there's Boris Herrmann's Malizia Sea Explorer, great shot. One of the most proven boats, one of the most radical boats, which is really designed for downwind in the Southern Ocean.
Interesting, when his design first came out, it's everybody thought it would be really struggling in the light airs, but actually in the ocean race they found how to make it work. Surprised everybody, so he's pretty confident in all.
Won the longest leg, didn't he?
Yeah, and they had the mast repair to do along that leg as well, so they really pulled that out of the bag.
Roman Attanasio's boat just heading out of the marina. Isabel Josh. So unfinished business for Isabel G.
Yeah, and she admitted to really struggling. She, had no intention of coming back to the Vendée Globe. Mentally, she found that really hard. And she was offered the opportunity and thought about it and thought it was, something she needed to overcome. And she's worked really hard to get herself into a good headspace to come back. And I think, you know, we're going to see a different Isabel. She, as you say, she grew into the race. She struggled with it, but her performance got better and better. She was in the top 10 when she had the issues. She was a leading female sailor. So if she can get to that place quicker this time and start off with good performance, I think we'll see an interesting race from her.
Indeed, I think there was a key moment where she was asking herself, how am I going to feel on this day if she's not starting? And I think that was really the moment when she decided she had to go for it, and she's gone full gas.
Voilà, qu'est-ce qui te traverse là en ce moment?
Franco-German skipper.
Beaucoup de joie en fait. J'ai hâte de partir. Je suis toute excitée. Je suis très impressionnée par tout cet accueil chaleureux, toutes ces personnes qui sont là, qui n'étaient pas là il y a 4 ans. Donc c'est vraiment un moment unique. J'en profite un maximum parce que déjà dans quelques heures, j'aurai le plaisir d'être seule en mer. Mais aussi parce que je sais que je vivrai ça une dernière fois dans ma vie. Donc je suis très heureuse de ce moment.
Et tu as bien embarqué ta liseuse.
Et j'ai pas oublié ma liseuse.
She's not forgotten her eggs.
Lecture alors aussi.
Merci.
The question is, how does she cook them? How many minutes does she boil her eggs for?
How does she stop them? How does she keep them in one piece in the conditions? She'd be happy with this forecast then if she's got those eggs on board.
But there's a great shot of Boris's boat. Totally enclosed. It's indoor yachting in extremis. And he has this little aft cabin at the back, which is great for crude racing, but it performs a function in terms of the making the boat measure as well. New foils. So Louis Duc then, newcomer, has proven so far very happy to do his own, quite often quite radical strategies. And there's the names on Roman's mast of all the people who helped fund this replacement mast. He's a great communicator, unfortunately mostly in French, but
yeah, he will choose not to speak English if he can ever help it, because he's really into his running now. So I did speak to him yesterday and I said, oh, you know, how are you going to feel not running? And he said, oh, I'm going to have chicken legs by the end of this race. So I'll have to do laps of his boat maybe.
But he certainly wears his kind of emotions on his sleeve. He did a pretty tough time last race.
Just on board with Boris there as he gets the crowd going with Pierre is Cole Brower, who is the first American female to sail solo around the world non-stop, and she's having a huge experience linking up with the Milizia team and kind of seeing what IMOCA's all about, seeing if she wants. She went round in a class 40, so she's going to see if she, you know, if this is something she can aspire to join into.
Her class 40 race was one of the most followed solo round the world races ever, really, wasn't it?
It was.
She had a huge internet following.
Yeah, she did a really good job with social
Damien
media.
Sagan then. He's looking pretty relaxed, isn't he? He's a first Paralympic sailor to complete the Vendée Globe.
And hugely competitive in the last edition, finished up the front as a daggerboard boat. He's now on a foiling boat. He's had some time with Bestaven in the Southern Ocean with the ocean race, so got a lot of experience there now.
C'est pas une chose facile évidemment d'aller sur ce Vendée Globe. Alors j'ai envie de dire pour toi encore plus avec voilà toutes ces mésaventures, aller trouver ce bateau.
So many skippers sporting their pre-Vendée haircut. They look completely different, don't they, sometimes? Because obviously they're at sea for 10 weeks, 14 weeks, 15 weeks, depending who they are.
C'est extraordinaire.
Beaucoup d'émotions ici sur le chenal, ça va
where she cut her own hair, and then when she stopped at Cape
Town,
she had to go and get it sorted out.
Faut les lâcher les émotions. Profite bien en tout cas.
Merci à vous.
He looks.
Man, a few words there.
There's Frank Camas. I wonder if we'll see him on the next race. He has a programme.
The rumour mill is quite strong on that, actually.
Yeah. It's one of the things missing on Frank Camas's CV.
Well, if Damien wasn't going to cry, that would definitely make him start crying. So there you go, you can see the emotion on his face.
But he wants to be even more competitive this race, a fierce, fierce competitor. So many different successes from Paralympic medals, won the Tour de France à la voile, class 40. He's done it all.
De montrer qu'on est des humains au final.
And he's Sam actually chose to sail with him double-handed, and you know he's a lovely person to sail with, really confident. But yeah, 7th place finish in the last race, first staggerboard boat. So he's like, okay, what can I do this time?
Grew up in Guadeloupe.
Un super bateau, que ce soit ma famille qui me fait le plaisir d'être là aujourd'hui.
But has literally moved up the classes from the Paralympic 2.4.
On célèbre quelque chose de sympa.
So people will recognise this boat. In the last edition, it was actually Maitre Coq. So he's setting off on the winning boat from the last edition, which has got to give him some confidence.
Indeed, he's optimised it a fair bit. Here comes Jeremy B, who another one, did not look at the trophy. One of the favourites, he's finished 3rd previously.
His history with the Vendée Globe is really mixed, and it's that missing thing for him as well. It's been an obsession. It's his 5th Vendée Globe. He's had to abandon 2 of them with different issues. Finished on the podium, and then the last edition, mentally, the mental resilience he showed by having an issue, coming back, fixing the issue, and then setting off 5 days after everybody else, and still, you know, getting round.
Came in 13th. And there's a good friend of yours, Dee.
Thomas Caville. Yeah, no, sponsored by Sedivo, a long partnership there. He's been part of this race, and so obviously supports Sedivo in the sponsorship of this race.
Raced in 2004, I think, or 2000? 2000 he raced in. Jeremy B then. Good farewell from Patricia Brochard and Monsieur Leboeuf. So as you say, Dee, trophy missing in his trophy cabinet is the Vendée Globe, 3 times winner of Le Solitaire. One of the 3 skippers to win Le Solitaire 3 times.
Who all went on to become Vendée Globe skippers.
Indeed. Michel Deschamps, Jean de Cam, Jan Elias, sorry, 4. And Jeremy Beer.
Just in case anyone's wondering why everyone's so disciplined on the boats, the rules actually state that everybody else can't go forward to the mast and only the skipper can be on the bow of the boat.
T'es arrivé jusqu'à là d'un pas décidé, comme si t'avais voulu d'éviter toute cette émotion qui déborde de partout.
Ouais, mais ça va finir par sortir, donc voilà.
Just wants to get going.
J'ai vu Armel en haut du ponton là.
So Armel Leclerc passed the winner, and in fact holder of the race record.
Ouais.
Armel's on the pontoon. So a few quick words from Jeremy Bayou.
Yeah, he did not have much to say there. He wants to get on his boat and go sailing, I think.
So he's was first to launch a new boat for this race, and first to really build the new San Manoir designed scows, these powerful rounded bows which have been adopted. And here comes Thomas Ruyant.
Another race favourite.
Indeed, a disappointing race for him last time. Really finished 6th, but was one of the long-time leaders, and then lost his port foil. Really compromised his race, not just because he had to spend time repairing it and let Charlie Dalin away at the time, and indeed Yannick Bestaven at that point. Sébastien Marcet, but Thomas Ruyant runs this, or his team. He has a 2-boat team along with Sam Goodchild. Won the Transat Jacques Vabre twice with Morgan Lagravière, most recently last year. So will this be Bayou's Vendée Globe? Tipped by most of the French media on the podium. Could he win similarly so to Thomas Ruyant?
definitely a race favourite, and I think, you know, his most recent, despite he had big issues on the last transatlantic race, but just before the big issues with his mainsail tearing, he got the 24-hour solo record of 539 miles. So he's just that, and then all the mainsail fell apart, but I'm sure he solved that problem.
Indeed, but he is a great natural sailor.
Je suis content que ça se passe différemment qu'en 2020 déjà.
Pocket rocket D, isn't he? He's relatively small but super powerful, very, very fit and strong, great natural sailor.
Dans le chenal et puis passer un petit bout de temps avec les proches.
Really high work rate.
Merci.
And I think what's really interesting with Thomas Ruyant is he's got the two-boat campaign. He built a new boat. His past boat was with Goodchild, but they've continued to work together to bring the best of both boats out. And the two of them have worked really well together, shared everything, shared the data, shared the information, so they can both improve. And now at the start line, they're competitors. But until then, they've been a joint project, and I think that's what's going to give them maybe an edge.
Well, here's hoping, and there's Denny van Winberg. I mean, it's again, you know, having watched the we'll watch the IMOCA, let's call it the quadrennial, since the last Vendée Globe. Denny van Winberg has really grown into the IMOCA fleet. We started off with the first Vendée Arctic. He really struggled, and I think missed the time limit. But his latterly route de Rome, the Transat Jacques Vabre, he's finished, and has certainly built the skill set to be able to complete the Vendée Globe. And here comes a gentleman who needs no introduction. Jean Le Cam, 66, 6 Vendée Globes.
He's called the king, but I think he should be the grandfather of the Vendée Globe now. I mean, he mentors half the fleet. He's done it 6 times. There's just nothing missing from him. He's had everything happen to him that can possibly happen to him.
That's it. There's Thomas with his family. So he's say 66, 6 Vendée Globes. I'm not sure that he's had the pre-Vendée haircut, D. Didn't get the memo.
He didn't get the memo on that. He didn't join the gang.
You do wonder what it's going to be like in 3 months, though, don't you?
Well, we've seen it before, haven't we? We know it gets kind of wild and out there.
But he has this brand new boat. He led the movement supporting the development of new daggerboard boats, this David Raison design. Not the most popular move with IMOCA, who obviously want to push the envelope. But
his argument rang true in the last edition of the race.
And you know, we've been talking about this in the last few days. As soon as we've seen this forecast, this is light downwind conditions. BMG could very, very much favour Jean Le Cam. And say his dagger boat, that's to say he does not have foils, which means the boat can sail generally a little bit more directly downwind and has less drag in these very light conditions over the first few days. So Johan Richon there, and now back to Juju, Justine Metro. All the time then, of course, in the top left of our screen, the clock ticking down.
It is 2 minutes past the hour. At 1 o'clock, we're going to see this race start. Hopefully, there's some wind to get them off the start line. But always just past the hour in France for the French races, because it makes the headline news, and sailing is part of their DNA. And you can just see that by the crowds that are here supporting this race.
Bon Calais. So that's for Arnaud Boissières. Good wins, good racing. Interesting to see now we have the official advertising hoardings on the on the side of the quay.
It's always an opportunity.
Indeed. Benjamin Dutra, one of the Les Sables d'Olonne skippers, or adopted skippers, based here in Les Sables d'Olonne, hugely popular and really a lovely guy. I think, if I'm not wrong, I'm pretty sure he was in tears in the pre-start on this phase last time, so this time he's really going to enjoy it.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I was going to say the same. It's his second Vendée Globe, and there you see him totally happy, excited to be going. But from the last Vendée Globe, he finished 9th place, and it had a really good race. Surprised everyone. Then he did the ocean race, so he's practiced leaving several times on the ocean race. So I think he's just more confident.
Ça se passe comment avec cette expérience que vous avez? C'est d'émotion.
Ça se passe là, c'est vrai qu'il y aura de l'émotion, et de l'émotion on aura.
You just said there are some emotions.
On va arriver dans le chenal avec tout le public, parce que
but I think he's loving it inside. He's just he's the doyen of the course.
Parce que là il y a un public de fou, donc forcément.
Oldest, the youngest, Violette d'Orange, who we'll see shortly, who's 23.
De plus en plus.
Profitez bien, merci Jean.
I wonder if he compares edition, non-edition, or whether he just enjoys it for what it is.
He says that every race is different. Every race is different. He's enjoyed them for different reasons. I think he said that he particularly enjoyed the actual finish last time was so much of a release. Much more than he was second in 2004, that race when really there was 3 skippers up the front battling all the time. Mike Golding, Jean Le Cam and Vincent Rioux, who ultimately won the race. They were all close all the way round. So Benjamin Dutra. So this Belgian skipper, as you said, Dee, has a very reliable boat, and the former Spirit of Hungary, designed or co-designed by Nandor Fa, built by Nandor Fa, and sailed round to 7th place, I think. And Sebastian Marset has got the oldest boat in the race, Dee, am I right?
No, not quite. You knew I was going to catch you out on that.
I've got to give her something. But one of the oldest, 2006 boat, his is.
Yeah, it's had a lot of history, it's done a lot of laps, but there is a boat that's just a little older than his, but as you say, he's a limited budget.
And here comes Sam Goodchild, a lifelong dream to be part of the Vendée Globe. And he's made sure of becoming the complete skipper. Sailed in many, many different classes, from the old teams, Class 40, Figaro's, Emoca Globe Series champion last year, super consistent, third places all the way through the season.
That was really nice. He just said, you know, had a handshake there with Alex. When he was 18 years old, he was working with Alex Thompson as a nipper, dreaming of being here, and now there he is coming down as a skipper, getting a pat on the back from Alex.
Not just as a skipper, Dee, but as a potential favourite. He says he wants to upset the favourites, wants to be do his best, but he really just wants to finish, sail a super consistent race. And he's proven able to modulate his pace. I think that's been one of the things that's been most impressive about him over his build-up period. Modest to a fault.
I think his timing has just been perfect, which is why it gives him the option to be a favourite and on the podium. His races have come in being on the podium, and most recently, but also he came from Ocean 50 for multi-hull sailing, and I remember Michel Desjoyaux, before he went on to win in 2008, he had come from the Orma 60 where he was living life on the edge, and as a result of that, when you come back to a monohull, it all feels easy, so you push harder, and I think that's where Sam is.
We'll come back to them in just one second, but this is Benjamin Dutra. He looks relatively relaxed.
Voilà, tous ces gens qui sont déplacés pour venir voir les marins, les encourager.
Just great to see everybody coming out to
un moment qu'on prépare ce projet.
Welcome.
tous ceux qui étaient amarrés ici au ponton et qui commencent à partir, voilà, c'est un peu un moment de délivrance de partir en mer après toutes ces années de préparation, de pouvoir nous offrir ça.
To race to the sea.
Voilà.
On te laisse profiter, merci.
Here's a boatyard just down the coast. And he's sponsored by, he publicises Water Family.
That moment there is nice. His boat was originally a Hugo Boss boat before it then became 11th Hour, and now we've seen it as Guyot environment for the Ocean Race Europe, which he won, and then the Ocean Race, which he had multiple issues during, and then now for the Vendée Globe.
Sam, in English, what's your feelings?
At the moment, I'm better than I thought I'd be. Let's put it that way. I think it's not easy leaving the dock. It was not easy yesterday saying goodbye to the kids, and yeah, it's a moment where it's trying to live it and enjoy it. Thank you.
So live it and enjoy it. I mean, one of the things that's immediately noticeable with Sam, his appearance has changed since the Route de Rome, of course, where he started the Route de Rome and smashed his head into a winch and couldn't complete the race. Obviously, that was just hours after the start, wasn't it, Dee?
Yeah, I mean, that was a shocking experience for him, and obviously he wears his scars from that as a reminder. But it was nice to see, you know, that was how powerful that emotion is. This, you know, he's done a lot of sailing now on old teams, multi-hulls, and he's done a lot of races, yet it's still that impact of emotion that was coming out. But a nice handshake from his training partner with Thomas, of like, okay, let's go do this. The two boats are going to be both competitive, both front runners.
Indeed, now Giancarlo Padotti heading into his second Vendée Globe. Italian competitor who's had a pretty mixed build-up in general, not really reached the levels that he wants to. Couldn't do the Retour à la Basse last year because he was massively dehydrated going into Martinique after the Transat Jacques Vabre. He's done a lot of work to his boat. One of the first to modify his the bow and put on new foils.
Juste un mot, réponds-moi en italien. Bonjour amis.
Sorry, can't help you there, Dee. It's in Italian, but.
Il mio sentimento è quello di una grande contentezza. Ho diviso questo progetto con un team di ragazzi fantastici. È una grande emozione, 4 anni di lavoro, tutta la preparazione, tutti gli anni vissuti precedentemente per preparare un Vendée Globe, che è un lavoro che per me è stato oltre 20ennale. Ho sempre sognato di essere uno sportivo fin da bambino e oggi ho realizzato il mio sogno.
I remember having a conversation with him in the last edition when we were chatting, and he was telling me how he cooked his pasta. Arinketi pasta, which I've now adopted as my favourite pasta.
But he's a character. He's he's another guy who keeps himself in perfect shape, always looking for new physical challenges, and big fan base obviously in Italy. And here comes Manu Kuzan, another local favourite. Did the last Vendée Globe and had technical problems towards the end. One of the last finishers, but modified his boat. Used to be a motor industry executive, then set out to pursue his lifelong dream. Modified his boat. So here's Jeremy Bayou with his family.
Yeah, he actually finished that last edition with a broken keel ram.
That's right.
103 days at sea, so he had to nurse that last little bit. So I think he'll just be wanting to have a clean race this time. No issues to deal with.
Indeed, his boat, I think, was previously Jean-Pierre Dic's.
That's right. Won the Barcelona World Race when Jean-Pierre Dic had it.
Look at Isabelle Josh. so quiet and modest, and but clearly loves being at sea and racing. So again, another skipper who's very much been adopted by Horace Les Sables. He's been brought his boat here previous to the last race, did all his build up here as his hangar just across the roundabout on the other side of the dock.
Merci, c'est gentil. Merci.
So Isabel, another skipper who cut her teeth in the mini class, I think originally.
Yeah, Mini and Figaro. You know, as we say, it's always the breeding ground for great sailors. And I did some sailing with her after she did the Figaro. Took her on the IMOCA initially when we were training for the Round Britain and Ireland record.
All right.
Yeah, you knew that she was going to go places.
Manu, tout le monde est là.
Elle
est là l'émotion, il n'y a quasiment pas de mots pour la décrire.
Oui, elle est là, je suis heureux, fier et en même temps, c'est tellement de sentiments mêlés, tellement de choses pour arriver là avec mes proches, mes partenaires, mais qui sont aussi mes proches. C'est un moment fort, je m'y attendais. Donc j'essaye de garder le sourire encore, je l'ai le sourire parce que le bonheur il est là, mais oui, forcément émotionnellement c'est très très fort. Il y a 4 ans j'avais pris le départ mais il n'y avait personne, donc on était tous masqués, on ne voyait pas ni les émotions ni les sourires. Là c'est juste un vrai bonheur d'être là et je vais essayer de retenir tout le positif du chenal déjà de ce moment-là qui est juste dingue, quoi.
Faut en profiter, merci beaucoup.
I think that was a really nice summary of how different the two editions have been. For those that were doing it for the first time last time, you know, it's so different for them to see all these people and have that rush of emotion all the time.
And at the same time have giant cutouts of your head.
There's a lot of Manuel around the place. I've seen a lot of him and very big heads of him.
And he's not a big guy, is he? He's a little fella. Interesting, there's Louis Duc then, Lantana Environment, 5s. I would say of all the skippers, he's probably the one who's looked more stressed. I think he's warming up. Here's Louis Burton then, 3rd in the last Vendée Globe. He's the rock star, isn't he? He really is. He finished last time with his leather jacket and his shades on minutes after finishing. He is my man.
And he loves it. I mean, it's his 4th edition. He knows what he's doing. He abandoned the first one, finished 7th, then finished on the podium in that race that finished within minutes of each other. So, yeah, he wants to see if he can do it again.
But he only knows one speed.
Full on.
Full gas, foot to the floor.
Yeah, and then we'll worry about anything that happens on the way.
But, I mean, remember last race, I mean, he was the one who went further south early on. He really pushed through the big storms, profited. Then he had problems with his mast and had to climb the mast on his own in the shade of the lee of an island, and then came back and was one of the contenders into the finish line. He was not far behind Yannick Bestaven, came in from the furthest north. But he's been supported by Buru Valley since the beginning. He's based in Saint-Malo. But he has actually got a limited budget and doesn't do a massive amount of sailing and training. So he really makes the most of his money.
C'est un moment qui est dingue à chaque fois, qui est différent à chaque fois.
It's different every time.
J'essaie d'en profiter au maximum, encore quelques heures, et ensuite juste le départ et la régate. C'est ça qui est dingue au Vendée, c'est de passer
enjoy the emotions while they last.
Juste se concentrer
dans la support of the public.
Voilà, j'ai été hyper bien entouré par mon équipe, par mes partenaires, et on n'a jamais été aussi serein.
Say Buru Valley, company who do office equipment all the way through office equipment, office supplies all the way through France. You see a Buru Valley in most towns, most cities, and they've supported them since class 40 days.
So we saw his boat his boat from the last race has now gone to Pipere as Medaglia, and the boat that Louis Burton now is sailing was Occitan.
That's right, L'Occitan en Provence, the first of the Sam Manward design scows. Now then, here's the character. Kojiro Shiraishi, first Asian skipper to finish the Vendée Globe. Third start, had to retire in the previous race. Megawatt smile, super chilled. And there we go, Captain Hook. None other than Davies again. He just self-deprecating. Born without the end of the left arm, as you can see. One of two sailors in this race with a disability. We'll see our Chinese skipper Jackie in a short time. He's the first Chinese skipper to take on the race. So foreground, Fabrice Amedeo, the journalist turned ocean racer, used to work for the Figaro in the business journalism. Kojiro Shiraishi then actually quietly, D's got more ocean miles than many of the skippers here. Did the round alone. So we have the great challenge now of him speaking Japanese, translated into French, and then I get to do it in English. He's a wonderful character of a translator. In fact, we didn't need anything because anyway, Shota Kanda, who is a translator and very much Koji's right-hand man. He's always smiling.
I think
what you can't say about Jeremy Bayou, perhaps. But
definitely not. But I think what's amazing about Koji was that sail repair he did quite early on in the last edition of the race. I mean, it was a repair that most people would have just given up on, and he did it and then actually completed the whole race. It was pretty impressive, and that was all thanks to big storm theta that we experienced in the last race.
Now then, Sebastian Simon, who is genuinely a genuine Les Sables, grew up in Les Sables d'Olonne, born in Les Sables, and very much a child of the Vendée Globe. Second time in the race, winner of Le Solitaire de Figaro in the past. And has a competitive boat, doesn't he?
He does. So it's his second Vendée Globe, and it was unfinished business. The last edition, he actually had to stop, having hit something in the water and damaging his boat while he was in 4th place, stopping in Cape Town. But his boat was 11th Hour Racing, that was the winning boat of the ocean race. So it's tried and tested with a crew. He just now needs to manage it on his own. He's having some really good performances. But did suffer from an injury in the last race where he had a head injury and actually, in fact, broke his neck.
He had a head injury, had a back injury, and he lost his mast like a mile from the finish line, and still managed to finish. And really came back from there. So mental fortitude, physical fortitude, and he's back and he's competitive.
Vous êtes cruel, là j'ai envie d'être avec eux là tout de suite.
But it's a great project.
C'est beaucoup de fierté, c'est beaucoup de travail et c'est
lots of support, lots of work to get here.
Beaucoup d'émotions, j'avais dit que j'avais envie d'en profiter et je pense que je me suis fait prendre à mon propre
jeu. To profit from the emotion and enjoy the day.
J'ai du mal à tout contenir, mais c'est des belles émotions et maintenant j'ai hâte d'être dans 2 jours à peu près, d'être tout seul sur mon bateau, d'être dans ma course parce que j'attends ça depuis un long moment. Et voilà, je vais essayer de faire plaisir à tous ceux qui sont là. Faites une belle course.
Merci. So have a good race. So Sebastian Simon, I'm not sure whether he still does, but he lived just one row behind the apport on the left-hand side going out. There's very often another skipper who's very often seen round Les Sables d'Olonne with his dog.
All the best skippers have dogs.
Completely. So Thomas Ruyant. I don't know whether many people who are following, or Vendée Globe fans who have been following the build-up to the race, some great images of Thomas Ruyant surfing out on the main beach a couple of weeks back. A great surf coming in. Here comes Clarisse Kremer, then L'Occitane de Provence, the previously Charlie Dalin's Emoca, which crossed the finish line first. Clarisse's project is managed by Alex Thompson Racing, so it's an English-based project, French sponsor. And Clarisse has had a little bit of a bumpy period coming into this Vendée Globe. She wasn't really sure whether she wanted to come back after the last race, but she's in a pretty tough time, Dee, and really you have to give credit to her and to the Alex Thompson Racing team for making sure that they are here. They've had a very compact build-up.
To get her to this start line now is a huge achievement. I mean, she finished the last edition in 12th place. She holds the female record now for 87 days, so she'll be wanting to beat that. She's got a boat that can do it. The question now for Clarisse is whether she can put all the turmoil that she's had to endure in the last few years behind her and just concentrate on the sailing. There's been lots of stories. She's had to go through a lot of personal life infiltration, you know, publicly, and I think that's been really hard. And it started a massive movement, actually, on you know, the equality that we have in sailing.
So briefly, she was with a previous sponsor who she became pregnant, and they more or less dropped her. So she found herself without a boat, without a sponsor. She's picked up by Alex Thompson Racing, who partnered her with L'Occitane en Provence, and then once they got that project going, she and her partner Tanguy de Turquet were accused of cheating on the last race with some communications which were deemed or challenged to be outside assistance. So she was, of course, exonerated fully. But these have been real mental challenges for her and her team.
It's hard because you start to question if it's all worth it, and she kind of felt that everything was against her, and she's had to push that to one side and concentrate on the sailing. And Alan Roberts is part of the team who's been training with Clarisse and really helping her just focus on the performance and the sailing. And you know, I'm really pleased to see her smile, be in a happy place, and hopefully get that behind her and put in another good performance on a boat that we know can perform.
Indeed, and of course the other thing was in the Transat race, the last solo Transat race from France to the States. Then she had technical problems, had to go into the Azores and repair, and ended up having to, because she needed to qualify for the Vendée, she had to just basically sail relatively slowly to get across the finish line. So she wants to be competitive. She's always stated that, and as Dee said, she has a boat which will perform and can perform. Now it's up to her to enjoy the race and see what she can do. So here we go. This is a tremendous addition to the Vendée Globe fleet. Our first Chinese skipper, Dee.
35 years old, his first Vendée Globe. But a hugely accomplished sailor, and in China is probably the best known offshore sailor they have. And here he is now coming into the world of IMOCA.
So he had an accident at the age of 12 with fireworks, lost the, as you can see, most of his left arm. And had done, where he comes from a few hours outside of Qingdao, never sailed before, He was a good athlete, a good runner, and he was then selected actually, or he chose to, and was selected into the training for the Chinese Paralympic sailing team, and it really has gone from there. But started out relatively low budget. Boat is based in Port La Ferré.
He has done a mini transat as well, actually. First one-handed person to do a mini transat. But it's a big step from a mini to IMOCA.
But he's finished the Route de Rome, finished the Transat Jacques Vabre with Mike Golding last year. And just super determined, great character. And you know, on that Route de Rome, he had a massive following in China, over 60 million followers at one point. He had this initiative where he put out messages to the Chinese people that if they had problems, then they should send them to him, and he would cast them onto the ocean. And I think he and his team probably thought he'd get a few, but he had tens of millions.
That's cool.
And of course that followed and engaged people with Chinese people with his race. So there's Thomas Ruyant then.
Just so people are reassured that he hasn't lost his marbles, he's not talking to himself. He's got a microphone on. He's probably doing a live transmission explaining the emotions as he feels going down the harbour there.
So he's from the north of France. Initially had the great big pool of companies from the north of France. He's from around Dunkirk area, and they supported him in the early stages of his career. And Vendée Globe fans and people who follow will remember that on that first Vendée Globe that he did, his boat pretty much broke in half, and he had to retire into New Zealand. But it was really, really very nervous times for him. Tanguy Le Turquet then. Huge following, great popular skipper, and the partner of Clarice.
Yeah, the emotional goodbye is slightly different in this team and Occitan en Provence, because
there they are together.
they're saying goodbye to each other, and then they'll be waving at each other. It's Tanguy's first Vendée Globe.
Good. Merci. Quelques petites questions sur l'émotion, évidemment, aujourd'hui, ce moment si particulier avec tous ces gens qui vous attendent sur ce chemin.
金坤，首先提一个问题，今天这个现场这么多人，然后这么热闹，你是有什么样的想法？你怎么看的呢？
我们以前想象了无数的场景，旺代的起航会多么的盛大，但是直到今天到来，终于让我们完全领略到了旺代的魅力。
Not among my skill set, I'm sorry.
所有的法国人的热情，包括也点燃了很多中国观众的热情。我相信
Interesting little
看到越来越多的中国人。
thing is that our race director speaks fluent Chinese. Lemonia speaks fluent Chinese.
He's a man of many talents.
There's a few other skippers and ex-skippers through the fleet who do as well.
Et on a vu aussi des Chinois sur place. Donc en espérant qu'un jour on verra de plus en plus de Chinois et de skippers
He wants to know that, or wants to feel, or hopefully that there'll be more and more Chinese skippers coming to the Vendée Globe in the future.
Profitez bien, merci beaucoup.
Big Chinese contingent here supporting him, as indeed there have been at the end of all his races. Engages the Chinese community in Guadeloupe when he finished the Route de Rome, also in Martinique. So there we go. One of the big favourites, Jean Le Cam.
I don't think we can ever let him retire, really. I don't think the Vendée Globe would be the same without Jean Le Cam.
That's what they've said so many times before. There's no There's no Vendée Globe with Le Roi Jean, the King Jean. It's been his life, really. But it's about guile, it's about minimising effort for him, isn't it? And he's the past master at that.
Yeah, sailing clever.
And there's Alan Rura then just arriving. We're going back to
imaginé ce ponton. Je voulais pas pleurer à la base.
Try not to cry. I think really just trying to keep himself together.
Vraiment les mots là. C'est cool. On a réussi. Et voilà, on va profiter maintenant.
He really just wants to profit from the day. Thank you very much. Just wants to get on his boat and get going. So Tanguy and Clarisse have a little one-year-old daughter, Matilda. And it's hard for them to leave her behind, I'm quite sure. Anyway, Jean Le Cam. Great shots of the boat, Dee.
Yeah, and this is the radical daggerboard design, but that hull shape is just so different from any daggerboard boat we've seen. I can't wait to see how it performs. I mean, he was in that fight for the finish, having rescued Kevin Escoffier in the last edition with a daggerboard boat. The forecast we've got will show very little difference between the foiling boats and the daggerboard boats for this initial few days. So I think it's going to be really, really interesting. There's not going to be that much separation at first.
But just for, I mean, of course, this is the Vendée Globe. There may be a large number of people out there who are seeing this for the first time. Just explain to us about the measurement rules. What dictates the design of the Imoca D?
So the Imoca 60 is really strict rules, actually, and it's in a box design. There's a one design mast. To enter the Vendée Globe, you have to be designed after 2005.
C'est un ponton très court pour toi. T'as profité du trophée, mais il y a quand même énormément d'émotion.
Quand c'est court, c'est bon. Non, c'est bien que ça soit court.
Twice he was
ça fait un quart d'heure que je pleure, donc voilà. C'est génial.
It's cool.
J'ai une machine incroyable. J'ai des partenaires merveilleux. J'ai une équipe de ouf.
Great sponsor. He's got
on n'a pas à rougir de l'ancien propriétaire du bateau avec la préparation. Je suis très fier. Je suis très heureux d'être là.
Super happy to be
here. Qui s'ouvre.
Ouais. Maintenant, on va faire du bateau, quoi. Et moi, je suis là pour ça. Donc, j'ai hâte d'aller faire du bateau. J'ai hâte d'enlever des couches, hein, d'aller au chaud avant d'aller au froid et avant de revenir au froid. Et ouais, non, c'est celui de la maturité, celui-ci. Et merci à tous d'être là.
Thank you to everybody who just wants to succeed. Thank you for the support.
C'est incroyable de voir un Vendée Globe comme celui-ci. Merci.
And for the first time in 3 editions, he's now not the youngest skipper, because we've got the youngest still to come. But his boat, people have recognised it was Hugo Boss in the last edition of the race that went through the middle of Storm Theta, the big decider that then cost Alex's race because he had serious damage, had to stop in Cape Town and could no longer go on.
So here we go. Oliver here with his made the policy decision to put his dog on the lead. But Ollie here, talking about Alex Thompson in the last race. Ollie here was Alex's boat captain in the last race. Swiss skipper, first Swiss-German skipper in the race. Comes from Zurich but lives in Hamburg. As I say, was Alex Thompson's boat captain in the last race, and that was a quick shot of Sam Goodchild going out the channel. And back to Tanguy Le Turquet. So Dee, so many teams now supporting our cause, if you like. Tanguy Le Turquet with Lazer, which is a group which helps young homeless people, housing them with young counterparts of the same age group. there's Damien Sagan then. Cam doing his warm-up on the bow.
His daily stretches. He does that every day going around the world.
So as we're going back to Ollie here in just a second, Ollie really, he's a little bit of tough time qualifying, but he got here, one of the last to qualify.
The emotion is, I see a lot of smile.
I mean, yeah, it's been my dream to be here, and it's just so special. It's it blows me away. It's really a very special moment.
Did you expect that, all these people, all this emotion, or?
I mean, you expect it, but it's still overwhelming. When you actually you're here and it's happening, it's very special, very, very unique. Yeah.
Okay, have a really great time. Thanks.
So Ollie here then. Overwhelmed.
It's really interesting. So Jean Le Cam, we were talking about, it's his 6th Vendée Globe, and he mentors or is involved in loads of other skippers' projects. I think Alex Thompson's the same. Like, he's done 5 Vendée Globes, and he's actually an influential person in a lot of careers of people that are coming through. So the knock-on effect is powerful.
Indeed. I mean, there was a moment, as you said, Dee, Alex had to retire into Cape Town, and Ollie was one of the first people down in Cape Town meeting Alex, and then at some point they had to do the delivery together back to Gosport, and it was during that voyage that they talked about Ollie doing the race, and Alex advised him or suggested it would be good for him to do, and here he is then starting the Vendée Globe today. Giancarlo Pedotti then on the bow of Prismian Group. His long-time supporters have been with him since his many days. Alan Rura.
Just announced that we were talking, there's 3 Swiss skippers in the race, with Justine, with Ollie here, and with Alan Rura. The strength of Swiss sailing is really big, and he's just announced that, when he comes back from this Vendée Globe, his ambition is to get a Swiss team together and do more races, maybe have another boat, and grow that strength while he's got momentum.
Et là, tout de suite, c'est comment? Ouais, il fait un peu chaud, bah ouais.
C'est chaud.
C'était une belle veste quand même. C'était une
belle veste, mais là j'ai chaud, l'émotion est là, donc j'ai très chaud. Ouais.
L'émotion est déjà là, parce que ça va monter encore.
J'ai déjà pleuré au moins 4 fois déjà.
He's already cried 4 times already. He's not on the pontoon yet, but I mean, he's a fantastic character.
Je vais partager.
Antoine Corniche, he's did the mini as a young guy.
Ça fait 20 ans.
Wanted to do the Vendée Globe, but moved into business.
Ouais, c'est ça.
Ran a restaurant under the Île de Ré.
Des années, on bosse tous pour ça depuis des années. Donc,
and then latterly he's come back to ocean racing.
Pressé de larguer les amarres et me retrouver ce soir dans ma bulle à moi sur mon bateau. Passer un joli moment avec lui.
On va suivre tout ça. Profite bien.
Merci à vous, merci de l'accueil, merci au Vendée.
Profite. C'est pas fini, évidemment.
So he does have the oldest boat in the fleet.
Indeed.
So originally,
2005.
Yeah, that's right. With Owen Clark Design, it was designed for Derek Hatfield, a Canadian sailor. And in 2020 it dismasted, but actually he bought a spare rig from Sam Davies for that boat, and then got it all sorted out and managed to get through his qualifying.
Going round the globe.
Just having a quick practice. Just remembers, I hope it goes the right way.
Yeah. So Manu Kuzan then on the bow of Coupe de Pouce or Coup de Pouce. Conrad Coleman then, the crazy Kiwi, coming into his second Vendée Globe.
Get round in his jeans.
Exactly. Another skipper who's financially been to the edge of the precipice to get here. Finished his race in 2016 with a jury rig. First skipper, D, to finish the Vendée Globe using no fossil fuels.
Which is, you know, in a nod to sustainability and development and technology, is something that the IMOCA class is now following through, and the ambition for the next edition to have all the fleet without using fossil fuels.
Indeed, so that's the target next time, although
Ça va, Conrad? Tu t'es pas fait mal?
let's listen to Conrad first.
Pas du tout. J'ai le bon sens d'équilibre et
Conrad is doing French, of course, but
quelque chose mal gonflé.
Ça aurait été dommage quand même de rater ton Vendée pour une entorse à la cheville sur le ponton.
Ah oui, mais c'est plutôt mon style.
Bon, quel combat pour arriver là quand même.
Oui, c'est sûr, c'est sûr. C'est incroyable de finalement me permettre de sentir tout ce que cette course va en produire en termes des émotions. J'étais un petit peu claustré ou concentré sur autre chose jusqu'ici. Et du coup, de prendre le vague de gens, des émotions en pleine figure, comme tout à l'heure je vais prendre la mer, c'est un grand moment.
Un mot en anglais sur justement tes sensations.
Great moment to be going to see and getting the support of everyone.
This is an incredible day, and it marks the end of an insane and incredible journey that has brought me here. Just getting this boat and this team to the start line today is 3 years of really non-stop work. But also, I started this adventure in 2007 when I dared to come to France and learn a new language, to create a new life for myself by getting involved in the Vendée Globe. And so that's an incredible chapter of my life. I'm very excited, I'm very proud of it, and now I just can't wait to get going.
So there, Conrad encapsulating his, oh my goodness, encapsulating his journey to the start of this Vendée Globe, coming to France in 2007, but he has, been to the edge of the financial precipice. MS Amlin coming in at the 11th hour to support him. And here comes Violette d'Orange, then the youngest skipper in the Vendée Globe, mentored by none other than Jean de Cam, of course. She's 23 years old. She's done everything already. I mean, she's sailed across the channel in an Optimus at 15. She moved into the Figaro class and come into Mocha and has performed since then. And she's a star for the future, and she has Jean de Cam's old boat. Anyway, here's a quick look at Manu Kuzan going down the channel. 57 years old, same age as Denis van Venenberg. Cutting Dalin Rura then, as Dee said, twice the youngest skipper in the race, just passing over the baton to Violette.
Violette's actually done a really good job. When she first did that crazy crossing in a little dinghy, you know, you knew that she was not afraid to take on a challenge and push boundaries and make a name for herself. Under the watchful guise of Jean Le Cam, I think she's done a really sensible thing by, okay, I want a daggerboard boat, I want to be led by someone with all the experience, and he's so influential on all these people. But she has been mixing it up at the front of the daggerboard fleet in all the races she's done. I think she's really kind of made people take notice because she's putting in really competitive performances on her boat.
Finished 10th in Le Solitaire. Violette d'Orange then at, say, 23. I think she is the youngest skipper ever in the
Raconte-nous la sensation d'être là au départ avec tout le monde.
C'est énormément d'émotions de voir tous ces gens, et ça y est, quand on y est après des années de travail, alors
after all these years of hard work, it's great to be here.
J'ai envie d'en profiter, de garder toute cette énergie pour ce beau départ.
Just drink in the energy of everyone round about her. I'm sure she will. A star of the present day and a star of the future.
I think so. And she's really good at communicating. She's really grown into the role of how to communicate her race and what she's doing, what she's feeling. The boat's been round 5 times, so the boat knows what it's doing. She just needs to hang on for the ride and enjoy every moment of it, I think.
Completely. Overhead view of l'Occitan en Provence. Company's second Vendée Globe. We're on the race last time.
Yeah, sadly with Armel Tripon, when they were sponsoring him, he didn't manage to complete his Vendée Globe. So I think it's a very different experience for them now with Clarisse. You know, she's got every chance to be super competitive.
And Kojiro Shiraishi then, as we said, this is his 3rd Vendée Globe. First one he had to retire into Cape Town after losing the top of his mast. And as Dee said, his last Vendée Globe, last edition, was really impacted by major damage to his mainsail. Had to basically re-laminate the mainsail. Took him 5 days. But went on to finish to become the first Asian skipper. And a little interesting fact about Kojiro Shiraishi is he suffers terribly from seasickness.
He's really excited about this forecast.
He's really excited about this forecast because he's saying this could be the first ocean race he ever starts and does not have seasickness through the first days. And it's very, I mean, we kind of joke about it, but it's very, very debilitating for him, and he's learned to just deal with it.
But there are many skippers that do feel bad for the first. I know Mike Golding always used to talk about it. The first few days he ate very specific food because he never felt 100%. But people find a way to get around it.
But Mike Golding was eating full English breakfasts, you know, at 5-6 days into the race. He always took his black pudding and his sausages, and that was his way of dealing with feeling at home and making sure he'd got the energy to perform. Tongi Koji. So Kojiro Shiraishi is a sister ship to Juju, to Justine Metros. But he has a new boat in build, D.
Yeah,
Kojiro.
Already planned, and actually what they've done off the back of his last Vendée Globe, they've started an academy. They've got, development pathway programs through for sailors. So I think,
both
it's only going to grow.
Yeah, both in France and in Japan, and it's great to see a big pool of, or a modest pool of young Japanese sailors here who are moving into the mini and supporting Kojiro.
He did a big trip as well between the last edition and this edition, taking his boat to Japan and engaging with the Japanese people there, and I think kind of growing in the status of offshore sailing and what it involves and what the young Japanese sailors can aspire to do as well, which is really, really nice to see that giving back and development of pathway programs.
But at the same time, the impact of that on his own program is the boat's out of circulation for the year after the Vendée Globe, effectively. And so, he is, like a few other skippers, struggled a little bit to qualify. He ended up getting towards the end of the quadrennial, having to finish races. He had a collision at the start of the route to Rome, in fact, with Ollie here. Ollie was fortunate enough, or in a way, that he was able to repair and continue and finish that race, but Kojiro unfortunately had to retire with damage to his foil. So this is the quick run out through the channel there, that left side of the channel. There is not even breathing space.
And they've been there since
early morning.
Yeah, 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning. These spaces were taken up, claimed, nobody moving in case of losing it. Happens every 4 years, and they're not missing out on it, that's for sure. That's 3 hours 15 to the start of the race. You may wonder why we start this process so early. What's unique about Les Sables d'Olonne is it's a tidal entry, and that channel is really shallow, and we can only move these boats with the draft they have a couple of hours either side of high water. So this is why it's a logistical kind of real detailed delivery of getting the boats off the dock every 3 minutes and making sure we stick to the time schedule, because we can't afford for anyone to get stuck inside with the tide.
Exactly, and that everything then is dictated to by the time of the tide. We can leave from 2 hours before high water, and so hence we're going off the dock so early in the morning. It kind of a little bit dictates that it's always generally the first weekend in November, but it's also a little bit dictated too by the tide. Tide has to be right to have this 13:02, 2 minutes past 1 time for the start. Tanguy Le Turquet, who was inspired to do this Vendée Globe, having gone out to meet his wife, his partner Clarisse, at the end of the last race. He said he was out there thinking, well, actually, I want to do this. And so they've run programs in parallel, been through the mill emotionally on both sides of their marriage, in the sense that Tanguy has had his financial problems getting his program going. He's got a much more modest program, but he's a great sailor and will be a contender for the Daggerboard podium. So Robin Knox-Johnson there, Philippe Jonteau.
It's a boat full of legends there for you.
Indeed. And the guy with the sunglasses is a famous singer in France, Patrick Brouwer. Antoine Cornichan. So many different characters, Dee, that we're going to learn about over the course of the next 80, 100 days. And that's always one of the great things about the Vendée Globe. Naturally, you tend to focus on the performance at the front of the fleet in the early part, but everybody gets their turn over the course of the race.
And the human story is massive, because everybody's there for a different reason. Everyone's got a different objective. Some people are wanting to just finish. Some people are trying to go around for the first time. Some people want to win. And, you know, how people prepare their boat for this race is very different. And you can tell that with just the quantity of food. Some people have got 75 days of food, and some people are carrying 100 days of food. And that's where you can see where their different expectation is for the race.
Indeed, we're talking with Conrad Coleman, the Kiwi skipper there, taking 100 days of food. Taking an extra 15 days, he said, because he pretty much ran out because of that situation on the last race where he lost his mast off between the Azores and Portugal. Set a jury rig and sailed in, but it took him an extra 10 days or so to finish the race, and he finished with no food at all. So he's been pretty conservative. Manu Cousin again. Interesting little point is that Jackie, our Chinese skipper, his boat is being steered by Rich Wilson.
And we know he's done 2 Vendée Globes, Rich Wilson.
There's a nice little bit of American-Chinese solidarity. And there's Hubert Lemonnier, a race director, youngest race director I think we've ever had.
Yeah, but he's lived the Vendée Globe.
Yeah,
he's the one that we were talking about, speaks multiple languages, but he's grown up being, you know, helping out, doing the watch systems, assistant, and then he's moved through now.
With Jacques Carries there with the glasses, who was our race director in the last race. But Hubert's worked on the ocean race. He's worked for teams, as you say. He's multilingual. And he's very much grown into the huge responsibility of this Vendée. He was assistant race director last time and obviously went through that whole epic process with the rescue of Kevin Escoffier. Lived that. And Louis Burton then there on the bow of Bourreau Valley. Philippe de Villiers then, very famous French politician who used to be the president of the region. Great to see Clarisse there smiling and happy, and you know this is the point I think where everything that's all the baggage that's gone on she's carrying with her, it's all shed off her back, and this is time to go racing, which I think, as you said, Dee, I'm sure she had moments when she was just wondering whether it was all worth it, and the conclusion is that increasingly over the last races it's been a reminder how much she just loves being at sea and racing competition. You don't want to do that, do you?
That would be a bad start, but it's interesting. One thing that makes Hubert so popular as a race director is
hands-on.
Yeah, he's always involved. He was helping move sails around the other day. He chats to all the skippers, checks the lines with the crew, because he's been that side as well. So he understands it from all aspects of the programs that everyone's running.
An interesting thing is also he's taken time to sail on a lot of different boats certainly over the last year. So he obviously learns the boats, but he also has a great relationship with so many of the skippers. They know him and they trust him, which is so important. I mean, there's a great race team this time. I say Jacques Carries, who we just saw, is still involved. That doesn't have the ultimate responsibility, but Jacques is a legendary French sailor, and having him in the background as well just gives the sailors that extra level of confidence. That you know, if there's a really bad situation like we've had in many times in the past, you're putting your faith in these guys, and particularly in extremis in that case with Kevin Escoffier, knowing that we had such talent in the race office, really gives the skippers confidence.
And I think it's not only for the skippers, but actually the technical teams that are preparing the boat. You know, Hubert's made a real effort to interact with them as well, because they're the ones that are going to have the direct communication and trust that they're going to look after their skippers that are out there on the race course.
So yellow Crocs, Dee.
Yeah, she should have waited till offshore, I think.
No, it's part of the team. It's been the team outfit, part of the team uniform over the build-up period. Everybody's wearing these L'Occitane yellow Crocs.
Crocs are a winning shoe for offshore, but you know, whether they should be seen until you're offshore is a question still.
The question is why Tongi's not got pink ones.
He probably does at home.
He probably does.
He probably does for offshore. He's going to wait till he's out of sight.
But it's an interesting little point, isn't it? Because in these modern, latest generation IMOCAs, everybody's fully enclosed. And it's a completely different life to the old days. And you can go around the world in your carpet slippers.
That's right. But at the end of the day, they do still have to go out and do a sail change. I think people often forget that bit because we talk about them like sailing in their slippers. What they're not doing now is having to endure the elements all the time. And having that comfort of being able to drive the boat, trim the boat, look out and see where they're going and navigate all from being warm and dry makes a massive difference on improvement. But we're saying the new generation boats are really having to look at, okay, performance we've got, but actually the ergonomics of how we can allow the skipper to perform and survive in these conditions is really important.
I'm so super impressed by Violette so far. We've only seen her for a few minutes, but she's got a really nice balance between giving out the emotions and the support to her little group round about her and just enjoying the moment.
Well, I have to say,
she's not overwhelmed, is she?
No, and it's almost like she knew what was coming and has planned for it. And I walked around the dock yesterday in her boat. There was not a single person on her boat, and it was immaculate. It was clean, it was put to bed, it was ready to go. And, you know, you get a sense of confidence from that because they're not rushing around or doing any last-minute things. You know, it had all been done. And so I think, you know, her preparation's been really good with this.
I mean, again, one of the things which has been introduced since the last Vendée Globe is this qualification system through the IMOCA Globe series. So skippers have to do a certain number of key races, solo races and double-handed. They build up points, they build up miles over that period. And so that has intensified the qualification process, has made it much more stressful. But the outcome, Dee, is that the boats are so much better prepared and the skippers are prepared.
And it's been really noticeable on the dock because, you know, we're used to seeing a last-minute campaign that's, you know, still got carbon fibre and epoxy going off and resin being mixed and angle grinders out. And this time there wasn't any of that. Even the lower budget last-minute campaigns, you know, they were loading gear, which, you know, if we're at that stage, I think we're in a really good place. And I think this and the forecast that we have of pretty benign conditions for the Bay of Biscay at this time of year and downwind conditions means that we're going to have, you know, the whole fleet go off without any stress, and we're not going to have that first night returning nightmare and stress levels for anyone.
I mean, it's in some senses, you know, we keep our fingers crossed, although I think it was Louis Burton was saying the other day that he fully expected most of the fleet or almost all of the fleet to get into the Indian Ocean, but you kind of always want a little bit of a situation where the kind of weaker boats are weeded out in the early part of the race, because you have to be absolutely 100% reliable to go into the Big South, and so that would be a little bit of a concern at the moment. But hopefully the conditions build up gradually, and there are options for the boats which will inevitably have problems. But as you say, I think we can hope that this day will get through this day without a boat returning to Les Sables d'Olonne, but you just never know. But it's always been the case historically over the last races. There's always been one or two skippers coming back in.
Yeah, indeed, and like we're saying goodbye now to 40 skippers, and the thing about the Vendée Globe is, you know, anything can happen, but we know that 40 skippers won't cross the finish line. We've never had the whole fleet that started cross the finish line. You know, wouldn't it be wonderful if this was the first edition?
It would. I mean, the rate of attrition in the last race was relatively low compared to the early days, when 50% in the early days of the Vendée Globe was considered the norm. I mean, I think your race in 2008, 2009, 33 skippers, 11 finished, am I right?
That's right, yeah. I think we were the worst year. I'm very impressed with your stats there, Andy.
It was one of the worst races. I think the lowest number of finishers was 9 out of, maybe in terms of proportion.
Yeah, proportion of entries.
Exactly,
yeah.
Every day in the Vendée Globe is a school day.
Yeah, it's so rich in history, and you know, as we say, you know, the boats have got as many stories to tell as the skippers, and it's Violette's first race there, but her boat's done 5 laps, so it's got a lot of stories to tell as well. Every year they get tweaked, and we see the modifications, but
we talk. I mean, obviously, we're talking about John Le Cam as a mentor. But he's a great technician, and he's great. He's got a great eye, and he's got great experience. He's a boat builder in his own right. His brother started CDK, I think, originally. Sorry, no, I beg your pardon. Mishdej, his brother, started CDK, but Jean was involved and is a boat builder in his own right. But he optimised Damien Sagan's boat last time. He's obviously worked with his previous boat, known as Hubert, just in memory of Hubert Desjeux, who started the boat building company which built his boat, and which is now Violette's boat. And quick look there at Sébastien Simon going out. Starting, Dee, to see a little bit of sunshine.
There is some brightness breaking through that kind of grey cloud. We were forecast for mist and fog, so I'm really pleased, especially after the last edition where we actually delayed for mist and fog. I'm really pleased to see that we're not suffering as bad as we thought. Almost a little bit of breeze coming in, which will be lovely. 3 hours, you're wondering what all the boats now do for 3 hours. Well, every skipper will be slightly different. Charlie Dalin went out 2 hours ago now. So he's had a lot of time out there, and basically the skipper will just be doing last-minute weather, making sure they put the stuff away and everything's where they want. The team will sort the sails. The team will do all the heavy lifting initially until the 5-minute gun when the last person has to get off, and then it's all up to the skipper. But the skipper will try and do as little as possible, apart from the navigation, the weather, the last-minute checks, making sure they eat and drink something as well.
One of the skill sets for the Vendée Globe skipper is being able to go to sleep.
Yeah, now I was that first person off. I was Charlie Dalin's end. I was like the first one off at 7 o'clock in the morning.
And you wouldn't have a sleep.
I wouldn't have 2 hours sleep before my start.
But it's the ability to switch off under pressure when the boat's doing, 30 knots. That is an essential part of this race, isn't it?
Yeah, you have to be able to sustain for weeks on end, so you need that ability to not only refuel your body with nutrients but actually refuel your body with rest as well, because otherwise you just can't keep going. And those that fall into that routine quicker will keep the performance up, get into that performance and keep it sustained.
So they do, or some skippers or a lot of skippers go into sleep training before the race, or they modify their sleep patterns?
Well, it's really interesting, that argument either side. If you talk to a French skipper, they know, no, grab the sleep while you can and then worry about it when you're off. And we know Alex Thompson was notoriously bad at waking up, like he's really bad offshore, and he used to
have a big alarm.
Well, it didn't always work though, did it? But he used to train in the period beforehand, but actually it's hard because you've got so many demands with media and briefings, that it's hard to manage that. So everyone's different, but I think sleep while you can and bank it while you can, and then because you're so fueled by adrenaline and excitement, these boats aren't going to separate by much in these first hours of the race, so the pressure's on, and so the first few days isn't really getting into a routine. It takes a while for that to happen.
I mean, that's been the thing, this 3-week build-up. Managing yourself through that 3-week build-up is an essential part of the start of the race, isn't it?
Yeah, the skippers are contracted to be here for the first week and the 3rd week, and that 2nd week they have the option to not be around the race village. Many stay because it's just easier than travelling around. Many want to go home and do the goodbyes to the family privately. So everybody manages it different, but they're all tired. This has been a really big 3 weeks. They've been working to this for 4 years. They've had 3 weeks of this final build-up. They're quite tired now, and actually most of them just want to go sailing and then get into their routine without the distractions.
Which is going to be difficult because, as we say, it's a light wind forecast, and therefore, almost by definition, the fleet will stay fairly compact. That means keeping a constant lookout, whether it's on AIS or visually. And that's going to go on for a large number of hours through the first day, perhaps through the first night. I think will be tough from that point of view, and the wind should build up tomorrow. So, Dee, a few words about the forecast generally. What are we expecting?
So we've got a light northeasterly gradient breeze at the moment, and we're hoping that will fill into 6-7 knots for the start. We've got our fingers crossed on that. You can see the cloud layer changing now, so that will change the wind at start time. They're looking for getting a shift, and they're heading to Finisterre, that corner of Spain, which is basically a big acceleration. So when they get there, they're going to see 25 knots with some gusts and some quite confused seas. But it's all downwind. It's no big system, no big front, and it gets lighter towards the Canaries. So we're confident to the Azores, but after that it's a little bit could be a few options there. So the fleet are going to work really hard. They're not going to get much separation, so the intensity will be there. But their first big conditions to deal with will be Finisterre, but other than that, there's nothing scary on the forecast. And I sometimes think, although going into something like 50 knots or a big frontal system is scary, but it allows you to focus on something, get through that, and then you're off. And I think this, when it's light winds, is actually harder to deal with sometimes.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty tough mentally. And I think it's also, it's a different side of the coin, as it were, but it's also the unknown. It's the weather forecasts don't match up. The weather models, they always say, are not agreeing. And so it's not really knowing exactly what's going to happen, whether there's an option to break away from the fleet. But I think generally the consensus is you stay with your main rivals as much as possible.
Yeah, I think you have to have a good reason to separate from them, because it's easy to lose miles, but it's quite hard to gain a big advantage. So you've got to have a good reason for leaving them, and I think we'll see those favourites really monitoring each other and staying close together. With light winds, nobody's going to want to fall off the pace. Everyone's going to want to try and stay with people.
It's funny that, obviously, as you said, Dee, there's only the skippers allowed forward off the bow, but all the teams have, all the boats have got media people on board. Pascal Sidon there with the blue life jacket is the writer for the main French sports newspaper, L'Equipe. And I'm quite sure we'll have done quite a few channels in himself.
Antoine looks pretty chilled, doesn't he?
He doesn't know where to put his jacket on or take it off.
He can't decide if he's hot or cold.
Yeah. But it's that kind of day, isn't it? It's quite oppressive. There's still not very much wind.
No, you can see that the flags are just hanging limp, and I know they're in the channel, but they're just hoping that's going to change. We've got 3 hours for that to change and start to build. All the skippers really want to happen is that they actually have movement, boat speed, so they can have control of their boat at the start and get away from that start line. Alan Rohrer always enjoys this. He's such a showman. He really is a good communicator with the crowd. He loves the energy he gets from the crowd. And, you know, from being the youngest and like that first race to then having the confidence second race, he knows he's got a competitive boat now and he knows what he's doing. He's so much more relaxed, even though he's still had quite a lot of emotion on that dock interview. Antoine's changed his jacket for us. That's what he was doing. He was giving us a fashion show.
So just there, that is the Capitanery there on the just that kind of hexagonal roof. That's where the skippers check in on the way in. Harbour Master's office. There you're starting to see the beach for the first time there. This beautiful, one of the most beautiful bays in the world actually, is that long Les Sables, the main beach. As we said earlier on, it's very much a fishing village, a little bit of a commercial port, lots of agriculture and industry on the outskirts, but it used to be and still is quite a fashionable resort directly west of Paris with a great train service. But it's really benefited from the Vendée Globe over the years. We've been coming here for many years and it's really developed in terms of the industry and housing, hasn't it?
The growth is unbelievable, and you know, every 4 years the whole world descends on the Vendée, and I think the local people, you know, are delighted to share this special event that they hold so dear. And it definitely, you know, it's really busy in the summer, but in the winter most of these seaside towns don't get this kind of impact, and they have this for 3 weeks every 4 years. And then obviously when the boats come in, it's the same kind of response on the side of the channel for each boat coming in. So they you know, love sharing this event.
Indeed, I mean, as we're explaining, you know, this is an event which is owned by the region, and it's very much there's a lot of local politics with the president of the region really likes to be seen to be facilitating the race for the locals. And that has some kind of impact in some ways on the the way that the race is run, but no doubting that it's fantastic for the town. It would normally every 4 years this is a huge financial injection, and you come to Les Sables normally this week in November. It's pretty much shut up shops in the 3 other years. But even so, the restaurants last week, which would normally close on a Tuesday or Wednesday, whatever, are still closed. And the week coming into the Vendée Globe. But I mean, that's the nature of things. However, and it will be quiet again next week when everybody's disappeared. So Conrad Coleman said 11th hour support from MS Amlin. We've come in at a lower level and then came in to support them when it became clear that there was a potential they wouldn't be able to make the start. However, the showman is Conrad. I can remember him coming in the finish of his last race. Obviously had a huge following at that point because of his exploits, having lost his mast. Came in with a little jury rig.
I think what's also really unique about this race is we've got the pure racers that are going for the win, that super competitive. You've got the human stories that are going for the adventure, but everyone will have challenges, face adversity, overcome it. You know, the stories that will come, and you know, this start line is the first win that they can all celebrate.
Yeah, I mean, I think that when we were saying the hopefully, again, fingers crossed, that there's nobody has to come back. The great thing is that there's then not that challenge of setting off late and chasing the fleet and ending up isolated, which was the case with, for example, Didac Costa, who had electrical problems, the Spanish skipper a couple of editions ago, who had electrical problems, and he had to come back. He was a Spanish or Barcelona fireman in his own right. Full-time job was he was a fireman, and he had great support from the local firemen, but he still had to start off a few days later once he'd repaired his alternator, but then he had to do the whole race pretty much in isolation on his own, and that's such a huge challenge.
Jeremy Bayou in the last edition came back and had to restart on his own. It's a big decision to go back out on your own. Mike Golding has dismasted and come back and had to restart a week after everybody else. We've seen it happen a lot of times, and it's a big ask to not be in the security of the rest of the fleet. But 40 boats, this is the largest fleet we've ever had. 11 internationals, the most international we've ever had. 6 women sailing in it. And I think, you know, we've shown now the logistics work for 40 boats. They've already stated that for 2028, the next edition, this is the start of the qualifying process. And they will have 40 boats again. There'll be 37 entries, and through qualification and 3 wildcard options, because, you know, 2 boats didn't make it to the Vendée that wanted to be here. So it's really interesting. This is almost an oversubscribed race because it is that passionate of a race for the sailing community and solo sailors, and that story that everyone relates to: 1 boat, 1 sailor, one lap, and no stopping and no help.
Indeed, but I mean, you would have to consider that 40 is the absolute maximum, you know, seeing the logistics and everything else is involved. I think as there you know, that limit was challenged with by these skippers who didn't make it, but clearly in terms of logistics and safety there has to be a limit, and I think 40 is probably exactly right.
It's lovely seeing everyone just enjoying the energy from the crowd. You know, the emotions they had on the dock, they all said that they wanted to benefit from that energy, and they are really playing up to that, and they just didn't get that 4 years ago. So it's been 8 years since we've seen this, and we just remember how special it is, and you can just see the volume of people. There's big screens on the beach front there as well, so for the start people can just move towards the beach and watch it on the screens, so nobody misses out. Rich Wilson there, 2 times Vendée Globe competitor and finished from America, driving Jackie's boat out there for him. Remembering those emotions that he had, he really enjoyed it, didn't he?
He did. I mean, I remember his first race, he went out to that big storm and broke 2 ribs and ended up in his bunk, pretty much stealing his boat from his bunk for the first couple of weeks from memory. And I mean, I know Rich really well because of that race. I know that at one point he was closer to home coming in. There was a big high pressure system over the Bay of Biscay. He was closer to home and getting closer than he was to Les Sables d'Olonne, and it really was in a very, very tough moment. His mother was quite elderly at that point, and he was really, really down, and you know, we kind of talked him round, we motivated him every day, and he got in, and I can remember him finishing. He came through the line, he was just hunched over the helm, and somebody had to go on board and say, Rich, it's finished, it's over. And even then, it still took him minutes to process the fact that the race was over. And he came back and did it again 2 editions later as the oldest skipper. And he's a real character. He's super, super cerebral. He processes everything, and you can see him doing that. And but he's also a fantastically accomplished seaman in his own right. Done transatlantic races and records and all kinds of things. And you do wonder whether he's just thinking, you know what, I might just come back next time.
I was wondering, that is so easy to get sucked in. It gets in your blood. There is something very special. When you're part of this, you become part of a very special family that's quite unique.
Yeah.
But I was walking the dock and bumping into, you know, Bernard Stam, Michel Desjoyaux, Armand Leclerc. Everyone's still around, and everyone's just like, oh, it's like the Vendée just brings us all back together. I have not been here.
But when you talk about these characters, you know, Armand Leclerc, Michel Desjoyaux, the only French or the only skipper to have won the race twice. Bernard Stam, the only skipper, one of the skippers who has, I think, started 3 times and never finished, and got so close and been shipwrecked and all kinds of things, and you're still living with the race but knowing that you've never finished. Same with Quito de Pavon.
I mean, that's Conrad Coleman's boat. It was formerly in 2007. It was built for Quito, Group Bell,
which didn't finish.
He didn't finish. It then became V&B for Maxime Sorel that Conrad then bought it from.
Which was finished with a massive crack through the deck and big bolts, and you know, it was a miracle. I mean, that Maxime nursed the boat through the finish line, and then Conrad then bought it. Obviously, you would imagine for a little bit less money, but he's basically rebuilt the boat, has Conrad, and he's got great faith in it. Massively increased the structure. So these are the lucky people on the La Chaume side of the channel who have houses and apartments where you can just have your breakfast.
They didn't have to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning to get their front row seat.
They don't. But I mean, it's you know, we're looking at the start, but the finish D is super special, isn't it? Because the skyline, you know, it's kind of almost iconic, isn't it? And it just, you come into the finish and it just grows and grows and grows.
Yeah, that beachfront, and actually what amazed you when you come in is the armada of boats that come towards you.
One time there's one point, then one boat, and then there's, you know, 5, 10, and hundreds. But you know, for me, it's one of the biggest moments in sport, because the sailors go out, you know, and they race round the world, and you go out to meet them, and there's just a tiny speck on the horizon, and they get bigger and bigger and bigger, and they've been nowhere else other than sailing. They've probably not seen anybody else until these first boats come out, and it's absolutely unique to the Vendée Globe.
And it is quite critical when you kind of, you know, you change your top into your clean t-shirt that you've saved for the arrival, and you want to clean your teeth and things like that, and you start doing that and you're like, wow, somebody's here already, hold on, I thought I had more time on my hands. So you have to, you know, you've got to negotiate these things as you come into the finish. But that is a few days away for these guys now. So the record stands at 74 days still.
In 3 hours.
It wasn't beaten in the last edition. So the big question is it possible? Technology and performance-wise with the boats, they are faster. But we haven't actually seen the race get faster.
Indeed, I mean, many of the skippers who were asked often over this 3-week build-up, many of the skippers are saying 70 days is possible, potential, likely, depending on the weather conditions. But the last race, there was 2 significant factors in terms of the record not being broken. One was the boats were expected to go faster, be able to cope with the big winds in the Indian Ocean in particular. And then we had a big high-pressure cell in the west of the Pacific, and really almost the entire fleet regrouped just after New Zealand, and there was a little bit of a restart, and then it wasn't massively quick through the Pacific.
That's right. I think I remember seeing photos of Christmas where there was a few boats in sight of each other. It was quite sunny. It was 15 knots of breeze, and they were all waving at each other.
That's right, and that was in the an area that would normally be in the 40s.
So yeah, all the best made plans, never, you know, Mother Nature's still definitely very much in charge offshore sailing, and you're at the mercy of the weather. And this forecast is pretty light for a start, so they're not going to be on record pace straight away.
No. So the key stages really for the records are getting down to into the south, into this train of low pressure systems which travel at speed from west to east. And if we can get a quick passage down through the South Atlantic, then that's always a good slingshot and a chance of a record.
They're taking it all in a stride for a 23-year-old. I'm, yeah, as you say, impressed. She's had to wait a long time. She's the last boat going out.
But she did get a long lie then, you'd imagine.
Yeah, she enjoyed breakfast.
Indeed, McDonald's breakfast, you know. I mean, it's funny, it was a little joke. But you know, your good friend James Harayada, who's the British skipper who unfortunately didn't make it. And how old's James? He's 20.
He's 23 as well.
He's 23 as well, and they ended up racing side by side, basically out the Atlantic and back in the spring races. And he said the worst thing was he was just desperate for McDonald's half the time, and he really wasn't joking. He was just saying it's just there we go. I mean, it's a tough time for James, I'm quite sure. You know, they ended up being pretty close, didn't they? But
yeah, they did all their racing kind of side by side as the 2 youngest skippers, you know, supported each other. Part of it. I know James is here this weekend, you know, as a potential Vendée skipper, or, you know, part of the family. You wouldn't be anywhere else, really.
So there we go, Ollie here then. Coming out the channel.
Indeed, for everybody.
So great, you know, here's Alan Rura. You know, we've seen him develop as we have with Pip here with us. Alan is on his 3rd race. He started the first race as a youngest skipper with one of the oldest boats, and his race then was a real adventure. He had to replace his rudder, I think, if I remember rightly, off the south of South Africa, just east of Cape of Good Hope. To replace his rudder there, had to dive, and then sailed a pretty accomplished race to finish that race. And then his 2nd race was a little bit more competitive on a boat with small foils, and now he's evolved onto this faster foiling boat. They say is the previous, most recent Hugo Boss, and should be a contender for the, I would imagine between 15th and 10th would be a good result for him. He'd love to do better, but again, a little bit depends on the rate of attrition in this fleet. But he has the potential to do well. But I remember Alan's team was in that first race. You know, there are always stories which are apocryphal, but it's a true fact that in that race, his team didn't have enough money to fill up the team van with petrol at that point. And here he is with massive or significant backing from a major Swiss watch company.
Yeah, it's interesting, not only the range of experience and level of adventure, but the range of budget that's involved. But actually they all come together, and it's very humbling. You know, Mother Nature lets them all know that they're all on the same racetrack, dealing with the same stuff.
And that budget has obviously had to increase over the quadrennial, because they're obliged to do qualifying races, whereas before you could just enter the Vendée Globe and you had to do your qualifying mileage. I can remember Sébastien Destremaux completing his qualifying races very late, and he had to do an engine test in the final days to prove that the boat was seaworthy. Literally, he had, I can't remember the exact mileage, but say it was a mile under engine, and his boat did a mile and stopped, or the engine stopped or whatever. And he got into the race, and he was a great story. I mean, he was a fantastic communicator, multilingual, one of the true adventurers.
But I think with regards to safety, the way the race has gone is definitely the right way. I think we're very confident. We've seen that in the level of preparation on the boats on the dock.
And I don't think we're missing out on the adventure. The adventurers and the human adventure stories, these will unfold over the next 70, 80, 90, 100 days. We know that for sure. That's the tough. These are the tough points, aren't they? Where you've nearly got your toes in the water. And
that's right. And they got their space early, and then they realised the tides turned.
I think Ollie just looks like he's on the edge, as he was pretty overcome coming in.
They're all getting that now. I think as these last few boats are getting to the channel where that volume of people are, I think they've just gone, oh yeah, I saw pictures, but I didn't really think it was going to be like this.
Yeah. But I mean, Ollie's done it before with Alex last time.
Yeah, but this time it's his name they're
completely,
shouting.
100%. You know, but I think in his head you think, oh, I've done it before. I know what I'm expecting, and then you just get there, and it's overwhelming. But then you get beyond the lighthouse. Then they're at the entrance to the channel. And then it's just you and the team.
Really special. I think it's, you know, you can just see that those that we thought would be super confident are still affected. Those that have done it both before are still affected. And really impactful, the last edition being a reminder that it was a COVID edition. They didn't experience any of this, so them really kind of getting the true Vendée send-off that they all deserve, that, you know, we know from previous editions.
But so many emotions, the extremes of the different emotions over the course of our dock out. Superstitions, some skippers who have seen D not touching the trophy, not even looking at it. Some doing the full lap of the trophy before they go out. Some not knowing what clothes to wear. And wonderful, the great age range. There's Violet d'Orange at 23. Ollie here coming in as the boat captain to skipper storyline. are we?